Welcome to the On the Edge podcast with your host, Scott Groves.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah, it cost me like $20 on Fiverr. Scott Groves, On the Edge podcast. I'm here with my buddy, personal trainer, just kind of like the most interesting man in the world. He's like a beer commercial. But I'm here with my buddy, Michael. And Michael, man, how are you doing 11 months into the pandemic where you have to see people in person to train them?
Yeah. I actually just put up a video about this yesterday on my IGTV. So overall, doing good. You know, I'm highly passionate and I try to be as optimistic as possible. But yesterday, I had to part ways. I initiated parting ways with a partner that I really wanted to be in business with. And it's just because, you know, my fitness company, I wasn't able to offer the value that I know we're capable of because of the restrictions here in Los Angeles, and to preserve the relationship long term and not let that be, you know, how like the lasting impression. I just said, hey, let's part ways until I could go ahead and find a way to give you better value, basically.
Yeah.
And that sucked. I know it was the right thing to do, but after I did it, it still kind of lingered. And I went on IGTV and I vented about it. But overall, doing good. Excited for all the opportunities that are being created because of COVID. Like, virtual sessions. We did a partnership with Find Your Trainer, FYT Duo. I'm going to give them a shout out because they're doing like this virtual app. That's how I met you, actually.
Yeah.
That's how I met you. Yeah,
full
through
circle.
Them. So I actually building a really good relationship with the CEO and our founders, David and Joshua. I reached out to them when the pandemic happened, and I just wanted to offer service or value to other trainers. You know, I like to teach and
train the trainer,
right? And they hosted me to all their trainers live, and I went on a virtual live webinar with them and kind of gave feedback to the trainers as what they could do to transition their businesses and survive the pandemic. It's going on a lot longer than we all expected.
Right.
So even I have my moments of frustration.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of businesses that can't be done in person intimately, personal training really seems like one of them, obviously. And, we can talk about the politics of it later if you want to or not want to, but just what does it look like for you pivoting the business to online offerings? Or I know you've even been flying out of state to do some training sessions for some of your higher profile clients. Like, I should probably mention we're recording this in Los Angeles, California. And yes, Michael is one of those guys who lives on the West Side and trains very wealthy, beautiful people and celebrities and things of that nature. Some of which we can't mention their name because of non-disclosure agreements, but just let your imagination run wild. So back to like the real business, which is kind of like your one-on-one training. How do you even adjust for that, man?
Well, I think, Zoom and FaceTime and just technology overall has really, even social media with like all the fitness influencers and online programs has really opened up people's mindset in terms of being willing to try an online program or try a virtual session. I think technology has allowed us to feel more comfortable trying it. And then once people try, just be yourself, be genuine. Very similar to podcasts, right? Don't try to fake it. Just talk about what you want to talk about, and it's okay. And people gravitate towards that. And I think if you have very good chemistry and you know what you're doing and you're passionate about helping other people, even virtually, even though it's not the same thing, you can still go ahead and pivot the business. For me, the biggest impact has been that I don't like the virtual. I'm really good at it. It doesn't fulfill my mission. Just being a trainer alone doesn't fulfill my mission, but I genuinely like training people. Like remember our workouts, touching you, feeling the muscles contract. Like I like being fully engaged in the session, and virtually, as much as you want to do that, it's not the same thing. So for me, it's more of like a selfish desire of wanting to do my craft the way it's meant to be done.
Yeah. Well, I can tell people from experience, although I'm not particularly fit right at the moment.
You look good. I don't know what you're talking about. You're not fit.
When I was working out with Michael, it's like, as a guy growing up in like wrestling and then the army and stuff, it's always about like, what's the most weight you can do and manipulate and look really tough in front of the guys. and then Michael taught me that you can absolutely destroy your body with 10, 15, 20 pound weights. And so I'm glad you made the joke first about, touching people and being able to manipulate them. Cause I was like, well, how do you virtually touch somebody's lower back to make a move here, to bend this hip, to realize that 20 pounds can be a lot of weight. So how are you having to adjust like your training skill to coach people from Zoom or from abroad?
I think me personally, we have trainers that work for our company, and I let some of them go in March. Prematurely. So early business owner move that I learned from, and we hired again. So we hired some great trainers. I'm gonna give them a shout out, Hunter, Eleanor, and Paul, who work for the company now. I think it's just being way more verbal, and being okay with saying squeeze your butt cheeks really, really tight. Like don't say your glute, contract your tailbone. People are not gonna react to that. But if you say squeeze your butt cheeks really, really tight, people will react to that, and they'll squeeze those butt cheeks, and you won't be able to touch it. Be like, all right, imagine I'm touching your butt cheeks. People will, no, don't touch my butt cheeks. What are you talking about? But it creates that level of comfort that virtual would almost like get rid of.
Right.
And you don't do this right off the bat. You got to be natural about it, right? So I'm doing this stuff with clients who have already been working with me.
Right.
But I think it's just who I am naturally. I mean, look how I treated Chris from the moment I met him. Hey,
Right.
Chris. And Chris is like, oh, this guy is very friendly. This is who I am.
Whoa.
If it wasn't
we're not used to nice people in this household.
If it wasn't COVID, I would have been like hugging him or something. He would have been, hey,
Right.
what's going on? So just be who you are. I think it's important. And I think most people in the service industry at beginning stage almost are all very extroverted, very nice people. And if they change, it's because they interact with people who aren't that way, and then they just don't have the not that they don't have the intelligence, but they don't do the learning that is required from a psychological perspective to know how to cope with all that. It's almost like Jordan Peterson. We kind of just throw him in there real quick. Well, he talks about Twitter, right? And how he feels about Twitter and engaging in the negative comments and so forth, and how his hypothesis is that people who even respond back to you on Twitter, that small percent of people, are the ones who maybe had a really shitty day. There's no way to track that data. So it's like, if you and I read a post on Twitter, we're having a good day, we probably don't respond, or we like it or something, we retweet it. But if you're having a shitty day and I say something that kind of bothered you, you might be like, you know what, F you, man. I don't like that opinion because that day you had a shitty day. So I think if you're in the service industry, remember that if a customer, client, or someone responds to you when you're in service in a shitty way, it could just be that they're having a shitty day. Does it mean that you're doing a bad job, or everyone's like that? It's just like, when you look at things that way, you kind of just evolve your perspective, and you are who you are. It doesn't matter how people respond to you. I think that's the ultimate gist of what I'm trying to get to.
Nice. And because you do have some private clients, like what percentage at this point, now that we're able to meet with people and we can meet with people with masks on and some of the restrictions are lifted depending on who you listen to, what percentage of your clients are you now still doing virtually, and what percentage are you able to get back in touch with, either at their personal gyms? I know some of your clients have massive gyms at their house, but what does that look like? What's people's comfort level right now?
In California, I would say that it's a small percent of people who are just fully comfortable. A lot of my high profile clients, some of them have shocked me with saying, I'm still not leaving my house. And I'm like, oh, wow, you were really that concerned about, and I can understand, because I work with the clientele of the age between 40 to 60 is really my demographic, right?
Right.
Which is
so
why
starting to get into that risk area.
Right. Huge on that. And then also it's just like now worth the return on their investment. I mean, you're working out to be healthier and feeling good. These guys aren't working out to necessarily be at the beach, sporting six-pack abs, right? They want higher performance and so why risk potentially getting sick at all?
Right.
If your overall objective of working out is to feel good and, be at a higher performance state, you're better off working out virtually, or just, create what I call like my CEO's morning routine and just kind of following that. And we've pivoted many different ways. I've been doing a lot of talking.
Yeah.
I've been calling my client. People are going through a lot of stuff, man. It's just been an odd, 2020 transition into 21, but it's been odd with all the, political dilemma. I have left clients, right clients, and you hear both parties, and my clients say some weird stuff sometimes, and I'm like that really odd person out in the middle. You just kind of like, and then so I leave like a full on Trump supporter's house, and then I go to like a full on left's house, and I'm just in there. And it just goes back to just me being who I truly am. So I'm almost like I take it as a gift that I'm really comfortable with who I am. So that way I can interact with almost everyone and just be who I am. And right. I almost like gravitate to the people, my clients. It doesn't matter what they are, because they just accept that I am who I am, and I'm proud of who I am. And I think that just goes a long way.
Do you find, because I find this a lot when I meet new people, because you have that strength and you're comfortable, that like whatever their opinion is, they assume you are the exact same way, right? Because like you're confident in yourself and you don't really care. I bet you walk into the Trump supporter's house and he just assumes you're like a bro who's into Trump, and then you walk into some really progressive house and they're like, "Can you believe Bernie got the election stolen from him again by Biden?" Does that happen to you?
That
Where
is
people just
so-
assume that they agree with you?
I am gonna get in trouble. I don't even know if my iPad is still on, Chris. It went black. I was live. I hope it still is live. But if I will get in trouble because that is exactly what happens. I love everyone who I work with, and I'm not just saying that politically. Like, I mean, I genuinely love the people who I work with because I go through a screening process. I've blocked a few numbers who have reached out to me for my services just because we didn't align entirely, and I've kept relationships with people even if they don't continue, like they don't sign up with me either for financial reasons or it just made more sense to distance and stuff like that.
45 minutes away for a workout. And
right, but you see the relationship we have today,
of course.
because like that's a relationship I value, right? So, but I think, all my clients that I work with on a personal level, I think they all think that my opinions are in alignment with theirs entirely.
Right.
And to some degree, they are, because I'm genuinely listening. Like one of my clients messaged me. He's big on religion. He messaged me. He said, I won't say his name, but he's a high-profile doctor over here in California, of course. And he said, listen, can we read the Bible together? And my immediate response at first was, I don't read the Bible. But then I didn't even respond to that. I kept it in my head and I said, okay, yeah, absolutely. Let's read the Bible together because you value that. That's important to you. And I want to participate. I value you as a person and I want to participate in that. And then, he was like, oh, but if it's not something you're interested in doing, we don't have to do it. I was like, oh no, I want to do it because it interests you and I want to go ahead and see what it's about. If I don't do it naturally, I'm going to give it a try. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so I think
totally.
just being open-minded to experiences that are within my core values. Like if someone said, hey, let's go, beat up that homeless guy because it's like the cool thing to do. It's not within my core values. So this is where I would go ahead and say, I'm proud of who I am. That's not, I would look right at you in the eyes and say, it's not my core values. I'm not into that. And I wouldn't do that. But I don't judge you. You're like, you want to go beat up, you want to go beat up the homeless guy. There must be a reason behind it, let's look into that. But I think that's to answer your question, that's how it goes.
Yeah, no, I bet. And tell everybody if we want to go back on Facebook, I think it
Instagram. I don't even know what happened here.
Instagram.
I am not good with technology, clearly, because
I think Instagram at some point just shuts you off. So
does it?
I think so. Facebook is much nicer about the live series.
Yeah, but my life, people are on Instagram.
You are on Instagram a lot.
I'm not a Facebook.
If I look
guy.
like you, I'd be on Instagram a lot too.
Yeah, I'm not a Facebook guy. All right, so let's just keep this
keep the live going.
Keep the live
Here,
going.
just put it right here. Okay, you can't block me. It's fine.
Oh no.
Put
it right here. That way we can kind of see it.
Perfect. Oh, now they're seeing behind the scenes with Chris back there.
Shit, there you go.
Sorry yeah, there we go.
Oh, wait, Chris is still back there. I got that, man. All right, tell me what's going on, Scott. What were you gonna ask me? What we figured this out here?
Yeah, no. I was just gonna say, tell us about your company because I'm sure people are gonna want to, one, look up your company, and two, they're gonna want to look up your Instagram and they're gonna want to look up all the beautiful people you have on your website.
Thank you.
Your girlfriend or wife? Sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Fiance.
Yeah, congratulations.
But right now it's complicated.
Okay, right now it's complicated.
Another podcast, another day.
Yeah, there we go. Fiance as of February 2nd or 3rd, whenever we're recording this, and we'll move forward from there.
Correct.
She's also a personal trainer on your in your company and also a lovely lady.
Yes.
So I know everybody's going to want to go check you out. Tell them about your company, about your Instagram, about your ex-bodybuilding career.
Yeah, absolutely. So the name of the company is Per Fitness. In French, per means for fitness. The origination of per fitness was like perfecting fitness. There is no such thing as perfection, but just shooting for what we believe perfection to be. Per Fitness is just basically concierge style personal training. So from anywhere between, we take care of your meal prep, we set up your labs for your doctor, we go over your labs together, we work out together, I get on a phone call and go over what's going on with any relationship issues or family or things like that. It's beyond the hour. So our elevator pitch is just Per Fitness beyond the hour. It means that most people call and say, how much for the hour? So they think of working out in fitness. They've been conditioned to think of it in an hour. But they all know deep down inside on a subconscious level that it's not just an 1 hour experience, right? That transforming your body is an entire, it goes beyond 1 hour. It goes from the moment when you're having that like really tough day at work because your boss snapped on you or something, or you snapped on your boss, and you go home and you're an emotional eater, or you drink 3 bottles of wine. Again, everybody's watching me on live. I'm not gonna use any names, but I got off a phone call earlier today. This is what beyond the hour means. Client of mine has been with me now for a little over 2 years, dealing with some stuff and, alcohol. So we were on the phone. I said, well, I'll have you on the phone right now, because I put her on this detox program to get away from alcohol. But she still has some alcohol at home. I said, grab the bottle. I said, throw it away. I said, and if you don't throw it away, we have a serious problem, right? Because that means that there might be an addiction as to why you and I are willing to throw away this bottle. Long story short, she got the bottle, she poured it out. Well, she threw it away first, take it from the garbage, pour it out. But that's beyond the hour. How many trainers at Equinox do that? No disrespect, they might, but I mean, it's not sold or pitched that way, right? It's just sold as a 1 hour session. So I make it while we're still intimate enough. And my biggest challenge has been franchising that or scaling that, right? The Tony Robbins effect. That's why I'm so motivated by Tony Robbins, is because he was able to scale his uniqueness in a way. So for me, Per Fitness is like concierge style, very unique to the client, doing everything possible to make sure that each individual client succeeds when it comes to like permanent health and fitness transformation, weight loss, building up, whatever your journey is, but just make it permanent. And I just make it a transformation of 12 weeks, 3 hours.
Yeah. And I know when you were talking about your kind of current client, like 40, 60-year-old, top producing male or female that's like trying to crush it in business and family and fitness and the whole 9 yards. And then I also know you've done a lot in like the bodybuilding and fitness community. So you train people like prepping for shows and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about those two worlds? Like, I'm guessing one, if we're looking at professional bodybuilding, maybe there's some additional supplements, whereas like your 45-year-old CEO that wants to just have more energy to make it through the board meeting, those are two very different situations. So how do you manage jumping back and forth between the two?
Well, both require supplements. And I want to state what I mean by that is that, age is not a limitation, right? But it is a consideration. So those individuals who I am working with, who are, from 30 really to 60, who want to be above average and want to be the overachieving, they want to be the high performing, we're taking anti-aging supplements, we're taking supplements to make sure that their hormones are balanced out. So science has come a long way, medicine has come a long way, where we know, like, to say I'm not going to take vitamin C because my body produces it, when you can take the vitamin C to make sure that you're optimal in vitamin C, it's just not educated enough. I feel like that's like knowing that you have to sleep 8 hours or 6 hours, and then sleeping 2-3 hours and just saying it's about sleep 2-3 hours, but you should be sleeping more, and there's ways to sleep more. You can take melatonin, you could go ahead and get on an app or your phone. Like, technology and medicine and science has evolved to where we no longer have to kind of just like wing it, right? That caveman mentality. So both clients require a lot of data and a lot of detail and a lot of cooperation from both parties. I would say that. So there isn't really that big of a difference, other than one is doing it at an extreme, right? In the sense of like body transformation. The other one is doing it in an extreme in the sense of life priorities. So whereas the bodybuilding client might say, hey, I'll go to the gym 3-4 hours, it's fine. I'm a college student, I just do school virtual or something like that. The other person saying, hey, I'm on a plane 2-3 times a week. I have wife and kids. I need the weekends to spend time with them, and they're micromanaging every single minute. So it actually feels very similar because there's just two extremes. It's just the best way to put it.
Yeah. And when you were doing, tell us a little bit about your fitness, and you're going to have to explain for me and the audience, like fitness versus bodybuilding versus what you did versus the shit we see on TV with Ronnie Coleman, where he doesn't even look like a human being anymore. Can you talk a little bit about the differences of the sports? Or I don't even know, was yours fitness competition? Was it bodybuilding competition?
So I did do men's physique originally. This was when I was a teenager. And then I did men's bodybuilding, middleweight, which I won a show, the Sunshine Classic in West Palm Beach. And then I transitioned over into men's classic physique. So what the categories mean for the audience and yourself, men's physique is what like every single 20 to 40-year-old guy wants to look like. Beach body, right? Beach shorts on. I want to have sumo. So I just want to have abs. Want to look V-taper, right? The ideal, what every girl wants to date. Well, before Dad Bod came around, what every girl wanted to date. Now, not anymore. There's the whole conversation on that we could go into another time. Anyways, That's man's physique. Then you have man's bodybuilding, right? Which is what you start off at bending weight, and you can move your way up all the way to like the Mr. Olympia, right? Which is the the man's open. Those guys like who we just won. Big Ramy just won. Look at him, right? That's bodybuilding. And then you have classic, and classic is like supposed to be like the era of like classical bodybuilding, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? The Lou Ferrigno's of that time.
Where you're toned,
Frank
but
Zane.
you don't look like
Well, Arnold was pretty big. He was a bodybuilder, but he wasn't big like Ronnie Coleman big. So
Right.
that would be like what you would consider your classic bodybuilding. So that's and then what we do here, like for me, I wouldn't say I'm a bodybuilding coach, right? My clientele, I'm really just more like, I call myself the Tony Robbins of fitness, because I'm more in the performance and the looking good and feeling good and making it permanent. And I think that's why I'm expensive, right? Because it's more than just telling you to work out and lift weights and drink protein,
right.
which to some degree is what a bodybuilder does consistently at a high level. They train hard, they sleep, they eat a lot of protein, they take their supplements, but they're not. I did bodybuilding, and in 2017, my mantra was bodybuilder turned business builder, right? And ever since I've been in business building from 2017 to now, where I've taken my business to grow exponentially, I've seen how hard it is to do bodybuilding again.
Right.
Can't do 3 hours of cardio, man.
Yeah.
I don't have 3 hours of cardio to do. I don't have 3 hours of cardio and 2 hours of training and eating every 3 hours. I will have to be eating right now.
Right.
Hey, how you doing, man? Give me more water. Grab me a gallon of water.
Yeah.
So bodybuilding is a business on its own. So I think that's the biggest difference, is that what I do with Per Fitness is that I'm not trying to make my clients bodybuilders, right? I actually, when I help all the trainers with the Train the Trainer ebook and the Proximity Wolfpack life coaching and business building, I always tell them, because trainers will complain, oh, my client's not motivated, my client's not this. And I'm like, that's why you don't get paid enough, because you're blaming it on the client. Figure it out. That's why they pay you. That's what Per Fitness is, right? My client can tell me anything. I want to lose 10 pounds eating burgers, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to make that happen. And I'm going to say, why do you eat burgers? Like, what is it? Oh, man, because, I'm the CEO of Burger King. And I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out a way to get you ripped eating burgers. Like, that's the mentality I have, concierge style. Clearly, that guy's not trying to be Mr. Olympia, because then he would tell me, I'm the CEO of Burger King, and I'm hiring you to make me a bodybuilder. The conversation will be different.
Right. And did you enjoy bodybuilding? Like, because I have to imagine there's a lot more money in being a personal trainer to successful people. And I'm guessing also bodybuilding is like any other sport where all the money's in the top 1/10% or something. But what did you like or dislike about it?
Well, I think with any industry, any business, all the money is in the top 1, 3, 5, maybe 10%, right? Podcasts included, right? You have to.
We'll never make money off of this. This is just so I can smoke cigars in my garage and talk to.
That's why I'm here. I'm still waiting for my cigar.
Oh, go for it. Let's light up. By the way, we're smoking these. We're back to these Padron 1912s.
I love these.
This is the little small cigarito deal here. So hold on, let me just light this without burning your finger.
Yep, right there. More.
Yeah, I think your Instagram audience just got really excited. Oh, there we go. Now we're cooking. All right, I'm liking it. We'll get a lot of smoke on your Instagram and your Facebook filter.
I love smoking. Thank you, Grandma.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is the one vice you have. I know you don't drink. I know you're really tight with your carbs and everything, but apparently you'll have a cigar from time to time. Nothing unhealthy about it.
Yeah, so I'm also big on role models and idols. I think I've referenced you many times to somebody that I look at as a role model. All my clients to some degree are role models for me, just because you guys are doing something great with your lives, right? Because again, the demographics of who I work with, everyone's doing something great to some degree with their lives. And the guys that I look up to who are doing something great with their lives smoke cigars. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna give that a try. What is it? Maybe it's, and then once I got hooked on it, I'm like, Now people look at me, they might be like, hey, he's doing something great with his life.
Yeah,
Smoke a cigar. We're definitely sponsoring cigar companies. So we should get something out of this year.
Definitely. One day that would be my dream. I don't care if I make no money on this podcast, but if one day I get like a box of free Padrones from somebody or from the Padrone company, I will just be forever excited. It's funny that you mentioned that. The first couple times I started smoking cigars, I was with a buddy of mine and his dad, and I was like, all right, I can kind of see the appeal. You sit around, you meditate, you talk with the boys. And then like every cigar lounge in America that I've ever been in, from Florida to New York to Texas to here, you sit down and you just meet interesting people who, generally speaking, they're a little bit more affluent if they can afford to light $20, $30, $40, $50 on fire.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're business owners because they make their own schedule and they can take an hour or two out of their day to go smoke a cigar. So I've met some of the wealthiest people I know just sitting around having a cigar who would never talk to me in the real world or the business world. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm the CEO of this company. I'm like, what? So there is something like, there's some camaraderie around cigars, I think. I don't know. I don't know if you found the same thing on the West Side, which I'm sure you have.
I find the exact same thing. Work with, again, the clients that I work with, we smoke cigars together. Some of them, other clients who are signing up with me now, who I just see me smoking a cigar, and they're, oh man, you know what? I have a cigar I want to introduce you to. Like, it's a camaraderie. And I don't know what, we're not promoting cigars by any way to everyone out there thinking like smoking cigars means I'm successful, right?
Right. I believe it's true, but you're not.
But hey, it works for me. It gets me in the right state of mind, and I'm very big on state of mind. So that's why I do it.
Interesting. So I had read this study. It was kind of interesting, and it was like a government study from the early 1980s. And it was like the big landmark government study on tobacco is bad. So they had every kind of tobacco, chewing tobacco, cigars, pipes, and cigarettes, of course. And they were able to do through this really extensive study, like for sure, no questions asked, cigarettes take like 8 years off of your life. And then chewing tobacco takes like 2.3 years off of your life. The one thing they couldn't figure out is the test group who didn't smoke or use tobacco at all, or nicotine. It wasn't tobacco, it was nicotine. The one group that actually lived longer than the control group was cigar smokers. And they ended up not even putting in the study because they didn't want to encourage anybody to use cigar cigars. Tobacco. And the other problem is like most cigar smokers are going to be a little bit more affluent. So they probably have better health care.
Correct.
Or maybe they just are in a demographic of people that take better care of themselves. But some people's thought was like, oh, cigars have a little bit of this like meditative experience where you relax, you calm down, your blood pressure goes down.
Yes.
And just like everybody else who meditates, maybe that made you live longer. So apparently cigar smokers are the only tobacco user out there that don't die faster.
Well, there you go. It's a long life.
It's a long life.
I don't know if I sent you this video on Instagram. You might have been on Patrick Bet David on aging and the Rockefeller. And No?
Anyway, I'll check it out.
I think I might have. Either way, he talked about the life expectancy of what it was when, Rockefeller was alive, and how he had two goals. One goal was to make $100,000, and the other goal was to live to be 100 years old. And he lived to be about 98 or 99, turning 90, 98. And he made what is equivalent to Elon Musk and Bezos' financial resources. I mean, he made billions of dollars. But basically, what Patrick Bet David did, who I love this guy, by the way, if you don't know who he is, got to look him up. He did the math of what it would look like today with the life expectancy. And when he did the math, basically you would be like 22 years old based on your resources and what, medicine has evolved into and everything. And if he was able to live when the life expectancy back then was 39 for a guy his age and so forth, he was able to live to 98. Why aren't you able to live to like 178 or something like that?
Yeah, I've heard some of these weird things from these.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know what they call them. Elderless, genetics. Jared, you look this up, Chris. What do they call people that study old people? Gerontologists, I think. I don't know. So I've heard a TED Talk by a guy who's like, yeah, the first human being who's going to live to 150 years old is currently alive. Because the way medical technology is advancing, like my kid's 5 years old, 18-year-old, 3 years old. By the time there's 50, 60, 70, we're going to be light years ahead in computers and medicine.
But I see it.
Really?
I train these people who are, I won't use any names, but I have a client 73 years old. She's doing it, man. She looks good. She's traveling the world. She's in shape.
Gerontology.
Gerontology. Thank you. There you go. Gerontologist. So yes, that's what I was looking for.
Gerontology. So there you go, guys. Gerontology. And I've seen people define. That's why I like to use the words age is not a limitation. It's a consideration. What I mean is consider what you need to do on your end to be optimal. Consider it. Just consider, what do I need to do? I do cold, I do cold water plunging. I do cold showers. So I'm smoking a cigar, but I'm jumping in cold pool every single day, or I'm taking a cold shower every single day because it has benefits to it. I drink a lot of water. Like, you want to go ahead and be considerate of what you're doing to, prolong your life. But I think it is definitely possible.
So if you were looking at 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 pillars, I don't know, of prolonging life, whatever it is, diet, health, fitness, sleep.
Easy.
Okay,
Easy.
Go for it. So
easy.
What's going to keep somebody alive till 150?
I wish I could be super intellectual right now and give you the data and the facts when I learned this stuff. But basically, what keeps a human cell alive, right? Is oxygen, nutrients. I mean, this was studies done where I forgot who the guy did, but he basically was like keeping cells alive with oxygen, nutrients, and what's the third one? And water. There you go. So that's your 3. That's your biggest pillars right there. Oxygen, breathing, right? I mean, now with the Apple Watch, it's like telling you to breathe, learning how to breathe properly, right? Pushing your stomach out, inhaling, exhaling, holding your breath. So when I'm working with my clients, I'm gonna give you guys a little secret for all the trainers and all your listeners who maybe aren't trainers, but this would be great. If you're exercising, take a deep breath in and hold it. When you're exercising, your body wants to do this. So you consciously control your breathing. Take a deep breath in. And when your body wants to, I want you to consciously hold your breath and then exhale, and do that 5 or 6 times. So you tell your body, I control my breathing. You don't control my breathing for me. So all of that just helps you control your breathing, right? You learn how to increase your VO2 max. You get more oxygen in your body. It just helps you with breathing. Drinking more water. And then just nutrients. I mean, nutrients, right? Food right now is the biggest challenge. I just plugging in my meal prep service here. Per Fitness Meals. We are going nationwide. We are working hard at making that happen. We really are. Awesome. So, I talked about it. Postmates and Uber Eats and all this stuff, all these companies, people are ordering food left and right? But the food that you're ordering, right, the burgers, the Chick-fil-A, all this stuff, you're getting all this junk food, whereas before you maybe would cook every once in a while, and now you just Postmates whatever you could get on Postmates. But I saw you had a trifecta box here. Give the trifecta some love. And I told her on my Instagram, I said, it doesn't need to be my meal prep company. Any meal prep company is better than you ordering out food all the time if you're not going to cook. Right. Doesn't need to be mine. But Per Fitness Meals. I think
that's so important. The reason I switched over to trifecta is because it's like, all right, you can know that generally a Mediterranean diet, more vegetables, more fish, less carbs, less processed stuff. Like, everybody knows the things, but goddamn, if I don't read an article at least once a week that's like, oh, this thing's actually really bad for you, or this thing's actually hidden in this thing, which is hidden in this thing, which has some sugar that has some shit you're not supposed to take. I'm like, fuck, dude, I can't win. Even if I want to try to eat healthy, there's a lot of stuff to read. And it seems like every week there's counterfactual and then counter data and then more data. So how does somebody eat? Well, let's talk about how does somebody eat healthy if they have unlimited means? So if they can do meal prep and stuff like that, and then let's talk about how do people eat healthy if they're broke?
All right, so unlimited means is you gather data, right? And the data that you got to be smart. And what I mean by gathering data is if you look at anyone who has the resources to do so, they're really good at gathering data. So you want to find out, what are my labs? What nutritionist do I work with? What company do I go with, right? And you want to go with a company, for example, because if you have unlimited means you know how to leverage your time. You're not going to spend the time cooking. You're going to either hire a chef, and the chef should be asking you things like, what's your blood type, right? Are you insulin sensitive? What are your food restrictions? Let me see your labs. Let me see your blood work. Can we go talk to your doctor? Is your HDL high? Is your LDL low? They're going to find out stuff. That data should be in alignment with your food, because the first thing is that most of us, right, nutrients are important, but most of us are eating poorly. No one here listening is saying, I'm already doing a great job. How can I get better? Everyone's doing either, when I do my performance reviews for my company, right? We have the employees rate themselves first. You can rate yourself. You can say outstanding. You think you're doing an outstanding job, and we give them a list of questions, and they rate each one. Or exceed expectations, meet requirements, or needs improvement. We were to ask everyone listening, right? Most people would say, I eat healthy, or I meet requirements, but almost everyone falls under needs improvement. And I think the first thing when you work with a professional, if you have unlimited means and you gather all the data, is that I'll realize I need improvement. And when I start eating, it's going to be first to improve and then maintain.
Yeah,
And
like that.
If you're broke, you're broke. I don't work with broke people, so I don't know. But I'm kidding. If you don't have any reason, YouTube, man. YouTube, there's Google. There's podcasts like this, right? So you could just go ahead and, it's hard if you're broke, man. Make money. It really is the truth. I'm sorry. If this is a podcast, we're keeping it real. Keeping it real with everyone here. That's the truth. So I work hard. I mean, I come from poverty. And it's hard if you don't have the resources. I mean, you make money so you can go ahead and get the resources to make your life more convenient. And then ultimately, you do that for a certain period of time, and then you give back. So I'm premature in the giving back part because I like it. It's what I enjoy to do, which is giving back with no value, like no financial return, right? Just giving back because I enjoy to give back. But I work really hard to make sure that when I look at my bank accounts and, all the bills go through for the Vegas location, the LA location, the Jet Suite X flying back and forth, the cars and all that, that I'm never looking at my account and saying, oh my God, I'm so stressed financially.
Yeah.
So that's why I work hard, So that's making
all right. So if you're broke, you're fucked. You can't eat healthy food. And
exercise.
Exercise. Watch YouTube for what you're supposed to eat.
Yeah.
If you've got unlimited means,
that's a bigger problem. Why is healthy food so expensive?
Yeah. I always wonder, is that
well, we know
true?
why though. We know it's business though. It's true.
It's business for sure. But I mean, my wife is also comes from very, very humble background, Hispanic family, single mom. So, there was no Whole Foods. There was a lot of Food for Less or Vallarta. And, she swears, she's like, well, if you pay attention, you can get mostly vegetables. You can do this, but it's also really easy, 90% of the store to pick up the crap that they're advertising us. So,
but think about what being broke. We're talking about being broke, right? Like the financial distress. Vegetables go bad really fast. Fruit goes bad really fast. You have to eat that food in a certain amount of time. People who are usually in financial distress work overtime, work too many hours, are taking care of more than one kid, take the bus to work. Their time they have no time because they don't know how to leverage their time, or there's many reasons for why, they're in that situation. But so chicken breast is more expensive than chicken thighs, right? Getting McDonald's is more expensive than getting a salad. Even the salads at McDonald's, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, are more expensive than getting just the $1 menu, cheeseburger. If they still have dollar menu stuff, I don't know. But I just think that for many reasons, right, whether we go into politics or not, we want to keep things the way they are. So it's easy if you're broke, I want you to rely on my health insurance. I want you to rely on my medication. I want you to rely on, the fast food, like these whether it's your big designer brands or corporations like McDonald's and so forth, they really rely on that class of individual to support them. When I was broke, my favorite part of the day was getting on my bicycle with my little pegs in the hood, 3 guys on a bicycle going to McDonald's and spending $5 and eating like kings. That was we made it. Right. So that's what I view McDonald's as, and they kept it that way. I wasn't thinking, salads. But what I did do a lot of, which is why I say exercise, is that, a lot of exercise. If you're saying, listen, right now I'm working a lot and I just can't get access to the best quality food, right? Because I'm eating ramen noodles. I used to eat ramen noodles all the time. I come from humble beginning, so I'm not trying to by any way confuse the listeners. You hype me up with like who I am now, but I come from nothing, and I worked hard to get to where I am now, and I'm working hard to where I want to go. But I was always very active, and you can find ways to be active, even if it gets hard. It really gets hard. I'm not gonna even try to sugarcoat it because I'm trying to think of that father who's working 14-hour days, right, making $8-9 an hour, feeding his kids, to then want to go work out. I mean, it's possible. It's not impossible, but I can see how it's a challenge. And I think as I've gotten older, I'm not one of those fitness guys who's just like, everyone get like, this is just there's more layers to it, and I think that there's a possible way to do it, but it's just not as easy as people make it seem.
Yeah, I can just imagine. This is kind of interesting. This is the modern expectation. You talk about the fitness versus dad bod. Just like women's fitness is unattainable, and what women see in movies and all of the things about women's body image, dudes have the same thing. Like 40 years ago, Burt Reynolds looking a little bit more like Dad Bod was a sex symbol. And now you got fucking my wife comparing me to Thor, who even Chris Hemsworth is like, I work out for 9 months straight, starve myself for 3 days for like this one scene in Avenger where everybody can see my abs. And now,
and it's photoshopped and manipulated.
I know. And now I take off my shirt. My wife's like, yeah, you don't really look like Thor. I'm like, Thor doesn't even look like Thor, motherfucker.
He doesn't look like Thor at all. But I also do. I mean, we could dig deeper into this. But there's research now. I mean, also too they're saying that we're in a state of like victim mentality. So I don't want to go into that yet. But anyways, there's also a state right now where it's like, if you look like if you are part of that like 1%, right? If you have your life together, you did it. You're a bad person. Like something was. So if you are the guy who's like in good shape because you're healthy, right? And like you're trying to date a girl, she's like, oh, this guy's just a dick. He's an egotistical bastard. F that guy, And then if you're like a little chubby now, and you might be the dick, but she's just like, oh, what a nice guy, Yeah, he's the one I want to date, and he probably has money. Like it's the mentality. You'd be surprised, how many girls probably see me. Right. And they're like, just another good looking guy with a nice body, broke.
Right.
Little do they know. No. Ideal catch. In fact, so most women might be thinking I'm catfish. If I go online on a dating app, they'll be like, that guy's not real. There's no way. It's not possible. Right.
You should look at his Instagram. You would not think that Michael's body is real. Not that I was looking. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
And also, great example. My body does not look like that right now. Right. So also.
So you're saying it is a catfish?
And to some degree, I haven't posted any body photos, to be fair with you. Right. So I haven't posted any body photos. My Instagram has been a lot more on like just talking to people. And I just feel like right now people just need to talk. Right. I think this is a state where we just need human interaction, and talking is important. I think that's why podcasts are doing so well, and like interviews are doing so well. And people are listening because they just want to talk or be heard or listen to other people talk. It's not, you don't keep that body 100% of the time. That's the first thing. It's very short term. And then, Instagram is Gary Vee. I saw he put up a post like, stop trying to make your Instagram like an art gallery. So then I look at my Instagram, I'm like, God damn, this is like art gallery, right? So that's why I start putting more, like I put up some photos today, like my hair looking like this. I'm not scruffy, like I'm busy, and I'm trying to be a little more of that raw content. And there's also a trend of people doing that now. And it's good for the generations to come, except now then TikTok came around. And have you ever been on TikTok?
Yeah, I was on that app for like a week, and it was so addictive. Like I have an addictive personality.
Extremely addictive.
I'm on Facebook too much, but like TikTok, it was just like, I don't know if let's see, if Facebook is like a small bump of cocaine, TikTok is like a fucking 8-ball mixed with meth, mixed with every addictive substance you've ever tried. Because I found myself there just for like half an hour. And I'm a really busy dude. Like half an hour at 6:45, somebody would post something, and then I'd look up and it was like 7:15. I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. So I deleted it.
Well, have you seen the data, right? In 2019, Facebook was averaging, right? And maybe 8 hours a day, or a person could be on there for 1 minute, right? But the average in Facebook of people on Facebook was about 20 God, I don't know the exact fact, whatever. It was hitting like about 20 to 30. I remember the margins, that's 20, 30 hours or something like that was the average. And in 2020, TikTok has exceeded Facebook. It's like, I saw the graph earlier. I sent the video to my marketing guy. Devin, actually, do I have it on my iPhone? No, I have it on my Android. Anyways, so TikTok has like exceeded. It's getting more engagement than, and I was looking at this to kind of find out how to pivot right to that next generation, because that's part of my job, is to find out how I can have, what is it, Gen Z and whatever Gen is coming after that.
Yeah, what's after Gen Z, Chris?
Gen E or something?
Yeah, look up Gen Z. What comes after Gen Z? Because I'm gonna have to know what to kill my.
Now I know my generation.
Yeah, exactly. Look up what comes after Gen Z, because that's gonna be my kids and stuff.
But basically, they're the ones who are watching TikTok right now,
right?
And they're the ones who are, well, maybe not your kids, but like that's what social media will become.
Oh, no.
Like.
I wish I could say no, but my 5-year-old has seen some TikToks.
He's on
TikTok? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha.
Oh, wow. I was way off.
That's some
intimidating. That's like the one that's gonna kill us all.
Yeah, exactly. It's the A-team there.
The A-team.
Yeah, my 5-year-old has seen TikTok, and he thinks certain dance moves and trends are hilarious.
Hilarious.
So I'm a horrible father, but Yeah. So if you're saying that people are trying to be a little bit more authentic on Instagram, and we know Facebook is basically just a place to fight about politics. What is?
By the way, I share all your posts. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do.
I seem to agree with everything you put on there. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been putting a lot of.
I don't even know.
Or
We'll talk about that another time. But anyways, I like
no,
all your stuff.
You can ask me a question, but then on the TikTok, what do you see TikTok of? Is it more of the now sexy Insta
sexy
model? Like,
it's the sexy. It is basically what Instagram used to be, which was like. I remember even in the fitness industry, Instagram is still very much like that, but it's pivoting to being a little more raw, a little more businessy, a little more, adding value, right?
Right.
And TikTok is purely just, half naked TNA, right? Like just showing you, like drawing you in like sex appeal impulse, and that's why you get addicted to it, right? You're scrolling because it's like, who's the next person? And everyone seems to be very good looking, doing a crazy dance, all this. So I think I don't even know how where we were going with this conversation.
Just technology, like where you position yourself to market, I guess.
So what me personally, this is how I do TikTok. It's the worst way to do TikTok, right? Because I'm getting old. So just because I want to be relevant and I don't want to miss the bubble of TikTok, I literally open up my TikTok app, open up my video gallery, pick a video and just upload it. That's it. Just to be relevant. I don't do a dance. I just literally post content. So when it finally shifts from, cool dances to, which is already doing it now because you see all the companies running ads and stuff like that, to adding some sort of value is basically just like an extension of my Instagram, and I just was already there.
Right.
I'm not the guy with like 0 followers just getting started. I'm kind of like been around. And I kind of partake a little bit. One of my guys on my team, Paul, is like 45,000 followers, TV shows, on reality TV shows and whatnot. He's on Goliath, like he's the actor, he did the TikTok thing. So I would play around with him and kind of do the little music thing. I did 1 or 2 like that. And then I was like, this is definitely not for me. So I just started pushing out content like my Instagram to be relevant.
It is weird how people kind of age in and out of certain apps, right? Yeah. It's like my 18-year-old son will not be on Facebook, period. He's like, somebody told me, one of my friends told me you post a lot of interesting stuff there and you're pretty political. He will not get on Facebook. He's on Instagram. And even on Instagram, he rarely posts all of their communication because he's in like a kind of a video game tribe amongst his friends.
What video game?
They only communicate on Twitch.
What video game? Oh, Twitch.
Oh, dude, I have no idea.
I love video games.
Yeah, I have no clue. You guys could talk for hours.
You know what I like about video games? Not playing them, watching them.
Shut up.
Swear to that's me right there. On my Instagram I have man of many tastes.
Yeah,
I'm an anime guy. You see, I like politics. I'm involved in a lot. I have a lot of different tastes, right?
Right.
But video games, I like to see the pros play the games.
This is so interesting to me because I thought I was never going to meet somebody who actually enjoyed watching video games. I thought this was all just a farce. And so now
I have met my first cherry. I popped your cherry.
I know. I've met my first super successful person who likes to watch video games.
It is actually therapeutic for me.
Really?
And you know what? If I was to go ahead and sit down with a therapist, she would probably say that I have I'm highly motivated by successful people. So just seeing someone play a video game like it's meant to be played turns me on. Not in a weird way, guys. But what I mean is like it excites me. It's like this is what the game is supposed to be like. Like when I play it, I don't play like that.
Right.
And I think I see that in many areas of life. Like that's what gets me going. Seeing people excel in their industries gets me going.
So I imagine you could equate that to the same reason I watch basketball. I got a 12-inch vertical, and to watch guys that are 6 foot something just dunk, it's fascinating.
There you go. So, correct. Yes.
Okay, I can accept the analogy, but I'm still shocked that somebody closer to my age than my son's age likes to watch video games. That's the tough guy. Michael Alvarez loves to watch video games. That's going to be like the whole clip when we market to your audience.
Yeah, probably.
You mentioned a couple times, and you kind of alluded to maybe wanting to dive into the politics and talk about kind of some of the people you've been listening to. I get the feeling, forget what the media wants to tell you, that everybody's either hard left or hard right. I get the feeling that in quarantine, a lot of people are maybe getting a little bit more fiscally conservative because they've seen their businesses get wrecked by the government, which is already horrible. And then I feel like maybe people are getting a little bit more to the center of like long form conversations on podcasts, or, you know, whether it's Jordan Peterson, a little bit more to the right, or whether it's Harris, you know, his kind of counterpart that he's had a bunch of debates, you know, farther to the left. But I feel like there's been a little shift in a lot of my friends and kind of like the national consciousness, political beliefs. What are you seeing with either the people you talk to, or just kind of what's been your evolution? Because I know you've gotten a little bit more political and opinionated since I met you.
Yes, definitely. And I'm happy that I finally have, because for so many years I was like, I don't know anything about politics. What's going on here? And I think it just comes with age. So anybody who's watching this, who might be young and saying, I don't know anything about politics, I think it just comes with age where you get more interested in it. I think also this year, like 2020, the past year, and the whole like leading into the election, I think more people got invested in politics, stocks, like just social media made it more mainstream, which I think is overall a good thing. Even though it was filled with different agendas, is overall a good thing. I would say I'm very centrist. And I think, like, going back to what you said about your friends, I think a lot of people feel that way because Jordan Peterson's argument is that you need both. And not his argument, his theory is you need both. You need the left, you need the right, or terminology. You need the hierarchy, right? But then you need the left to prevent it from becoming a tyranny. So you need them both to just kind of be eyeing each other. If the left doesn't have the hierarchy, then they're just kind of saying, this is the way it is, but it's okay. Yeah, it is the way it is. But what's the outcome? Like, we need the hierarchy, we need the structure, but then we don't want the structure to turn into tyranny. So we need to go ahead and like loosen up the reins. And I think it just becomes like this. It's almost like very centrist. I always use this analogy, and it's so silly and so true though. Everything to life is balance. I know it sounds so cliche, but the truth is, even politics is like a balancing scale. Nothing is just one whole side. And I know that's not the answer most people are looking for, especially with how passionate everyone is about their opinion.
Right.
But it really comes down to that your opinion is only half right. There's more than one way of doing things, and I've been listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson. I just like the way he talks. He's
very serious, right?
Yeah, his eyebrows kind of do this thing, his facial impression. I mean, a lot of people listen to him. He must be doing something right in the way he presents himself. And I know he has a lot of hate out there because he's very set in what he believes, right? And I think he just talks with a lot of assertiveness, which can come off wrong sometimes, because even though he might be open-minded to some things, it doesn't sound that way. But his analogy basically is that you need both. You need both, and you need both at certain times. And I think, I would vote Democrat or Republican just based on the time, what's going on. And I think right now, even though, of course, Biden was elected president, I just think right now this is going to come off just harsh maybe to some people, like the victim mentality needs to kind of get a little bit, we need to put a little bit of control on the victim mentality, because if you let that go, we're just way too far out. Like, if everyone just, like, I always use the analogy, like, if I just start being a victim, right, the small amount of people who count on me now are left alone. Like, okay, he's a victim, and it's gyms are shut down, I'm tired of all this, I'm tired of all the traveling, I'm going to get unemployment, I'm going to quit on everything, I'm just going to be a victim. And then everyone, not only my team and my clients who count on me, like, think about the impact of the hierarchy that I'm building with Per Fitness, how that business would just be impacted if I just said, I'm a victim, it is what it is. So there has to be some sort of control to how far we allow the victim mentality to go. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, you hit on something there that this is kind of, I thought about this for the first time because of the pandemic, and I'm not a believer that like everybody can just pull themselves out of their circumstance, pull yourself by the bootstraps. Like, I believe in a lot of personal responsibility, but I also know, like, certain people are just born with a better chance than others, and I also don't think the government can change that. I think that just kind of sucks, and that's the way life is. But you've mentioned it yourself.
But why does it suck though, if you don't mind me asking?
Well,
you said you think it kind of sucks, and that's just the way life is. Yeah. I don't think it sucks that some people are born with an advantage, and I don't think it sucks that people are born with a disadvantage. I think that's just the way life is. Just like lions eat zebras,
Right.
and zebras eat whatever they eat, right? Like it's just the way it is, but it doesn't suck. We need it to be like that for
It sucks for the zebra, but I'm just kidding.
but maybe not, right? I don't know. Maybe the zebra is getting eaten. It sucks for that. But whenever the zebra is eating what is like, there's a. I just don't think it sucks. You're right. I agree with you though. I think that if you're born and if you're given a disadvantage, I think that there should be systems and things in place to help propel you forward so you can have the momentum that you need to turn the disadvantage into an advantage. I agree with that 100%. I just don't think that if you're born with an advantage, and that's the issue here, if you're born with an advantage right now, we're training society to see that as a problem. I wasn't born with any advantages, and I'm saying this out loud. If you're born with an advantage, like white privilege, or, like, don't see that as if we're training people to see that as a problem. Like being born with money is a problem. Being like you're a bad person because you were born in that situation, and because I was at a disadvantage, I'm a victim, and now you have to be the enemy. Like it shouldn't be that way. It should be different. Okay, you were born with an advantage. I wasn't, right? Maybe you don't need to help me out anyway. My phone just died. Sorry, Facebook Live. I'll figure that out tomorrow, guys. I clearly suck at technology.
You need a Chris. To
I need a Chris, but yeah, I need a Ronan or Isaac, which were my guys that I let go of. I'm sorry, guys, I let them go in March. Come back.
You bring them back as soon as business is back up.
I'm bringing them back. I think I was talking about the advantages. So I think if you're born with a disadvantage, right? I think the person that's born with an advantage, the problem is that we feel like they owe us something, right? Like, you're supposed to help me because you were born with an advantage. And I think we shift that approach from you owe me something, right, to how can I propel, like how can you being born with an advantage help me propel forward? So let's say that person born with an advantage is born into a wealthy family, right? And instead of being criticized his whole life, he's inspired. And he uses that opportunity to launch a new company or a new something new, right? Where the person born with the disadvantage could go ahead and excel and learn and be a part of that. Whether either it's through a partnership, whether it's as an employee, whether it's like, you get what I'm saying? Like it's shifting from like, I hate you to collaboration and not just like judging you because you're successful or you were born with an advantage. So that must mean that, you're my enemy because I was born with a disadvantage. I think that's a big problem that it's not going to make more division is not the answer is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
I don't think it is, my opinion.
Yeah. And what, I don't even know your backstory. So where were you born? Where were you raised?
So
I always just guessed you were like Puerto Rican, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cuban.
I'm Cuban. And I have the traditions I'm gonna live by. I saw my real father was on my Facebook Live, by the way. Me and him don't have the best relationship, but he was on there. I saw him. So I was born in Cuba, and my story of why I work so hard is to create generational wealth because I want to flip that switch of poverty. My mom at 18 years old got on a raft, and every time I tell the story, I always like visualize the ocean at night. She got on a raft with 4 men she didn't know at 18 years old and left me with my grandma. I was 1 at the time to go into the ocean. A woman at 18 years old, and we have other girls who don't even want to, you get the mentality of why I feel the way I feel, right? I know things have changed tremendously, but the mentality here is she got on a raft at 18 years old, left the country to go into the ocean. That feat alone for me was tremendous because I'm scared. I would not want to go into the ocean at night and just kind of figure it out. What's going to happen? Just kind of figure it out.
I got licensed to scuba dive at night because I really got into scuba diving about a decade ago. And it's the scariest shit I've ever experienced because it's pitch black and you've got this little tiny cone of light and you're just shining around the ocean like looking for sharks. It's scary as shit.
Yeah, exactly. But also think of the psychological trauma of being an 18-year-old woman, blonde, white, beautiful woman. My mom was gorgeous, with 4 men you don't know. We talk about rape. We talk about endless possibilities, right? I don't know. I'm just think the worst case scenario to then come to this country, right? Without knowing anything, and then eventually bring me over. Like that right there is my fuel to change. Like every family, no family was ever born into wealth, right? Someone had to flip that switch and make that transition, and that's my motivation. But it also inspires me tremendously to not have the victim mentality. How could I ever complain about my Tesla having a flat tire, or and again, I was frustrated with the government, and even then, even talking to you now reminds me, like, she escaped a government. Like, so if this LA is really pissing me off, I have the resources to leave LA. Like, shut
Right.
up, stop being a baby.
Oh man, I've thought about this
Michael.
so many times. I've thought about this so many times. Should I just shut my mouth and like move to a place like Texas or Tennessee?
Right,
'Cause
let's go together, man.
Yeah, all I complain about is property or income taxes.
There you go.
But then, the flip side of that, to realize I could stop my bitching, I can move at any time, or I could just like, there's a lot of taxes to pay because I really like flushing my toilet and the shit goes down every time. If I lived in a country where I didn't have running water flushing the toilet, I'd probably be begging for the government to take more to maybe provide some services.
100%, I agree with you. So I think the whole concept here was just a victim mentality. I get it, right? Everyone. What I'm saying is everyone could choose to be a victim, Scott, right? And for some people, it's easier than others. I understand. Some people have worse situations than others. I understand. And those who need the resources and the help definitely should be able to get it. I just don't think they should be able to get it at the expense of making someone else the evil one or the enemy.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Why do you think that in politics, and I've heard a lot of thoughts and reasons for this, why do you think modern politics is more about making your opponent evil instead of like winning and talking about your virtue? Like, I'm more of a conservative, libertarian, Republican, depending on who's running. And it's like, I feel like conservative values are good values. Libertarian, like, hey, sleep with who you want to, smoke with who you want. Just, government, leave me alone. I wonder why it's so hard for them to tell that story, or for Democrats to be like, hey, we want a more inclusive environment. We want to, we want more to do with equal rights and whatever the leftist progressive agenda is for the day and whatever the conservative agenda is for the day. It's like, can't you just tell a story about what you do good instead of villainizing the fuck out of everybody's not Hitler. Like the next guy is not going to be a Nazi no matter what party he's from.
Correct.
So why do you think everything's got to be so negative?
Well, I think number one, the parties at play, whether it might be the media or social media or the tech industry, negativity gets eyeballs, right? We at the end of the day, like we want viewership, we want engagement, right? And that's gonna be more entertaining to watch than saying "Akumbaya." I want Biden to win because if Biden wins, I'm gonna help him out either way, and I'm a conservative. We got this, Biden. Let's go together. Oh, Trump, man, forget what they say about you. You're a great guy. I want to make things happen with you. Let's go together. I hope you win again. Both of us win. It doesn't matter. Balance it out. It's not going to be as exciting, right? Me and you wouldn't even be as intrigued. But all right, it doesn't matter who wins, right? They're going to figure it out anyways.
Right.
So I think it just comes down to, like, at the end of the day, whether we accept it or not, everything's a business. And in business, there's competition, and there's a party who wants to get a higher return on an investment. The challenge here, when I listen to individuals like Tony Robbins, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Harris, I was even some of the people who are far left, who no, not far left, but who are just more liberal, more Democrat, but have a more open mind, is that stop trying to sell tickets, right? Just focus on a better place for us to live. Stop trying to sell tickets. Just focus on adding more value to people. But when you're trying to sell tickets, you're going to say things that don't make any sense. And you're going to create enemies, because that's like the hero and the enemy. Like, that's what sells movie tickets. If you watch a movie with two heroes,
yeah, it's boring.
What am I watching this for?
One of them better die at the end of like cancer or something like that. like that movie, movie, The Bucket List. They're both heroes, but it's like, one of them's dying at the end of the movie, so you care. But
that's the answer. That's how I feel about it. So, but it is a big problem. It is a big problem.
We used to make the joke that politics was kind of becoming like the WWF, and then Trump, who had a guest stint in the WWF, actually becomes president. So yeah, it's kind of like that, right? It's moved from like Roman Greco Olympic wrestling, at least this is the way I kind of picture politics in the good old days, to now it's like just straight up WWF. What's the most outlandish stuff we can say about each other?
But not only politics, and that's what's concerning about every single like industry to some degree. The only hope that I have is that even individuals who go the route of like outlandish behavior, right, to kind of get attention, they tend to transition out of it, which is good, and because they have the views and they can pitch and then they could go ahead and get their mission across. Which is why I always say one of my motivating factors is just keep working until I can really make some impact, right? And that's why I love stuff like this here. It gives the opportunity for my voice to be heard, which means I'm going down the right path. But like TikTok influencers, right? What is it? 21 million 41 million viewers. Like these TikTok people are blowing up talking about TikTok. The stuff that they're promoting, what is it? The WAP dance and like this stuff is not, it's not what we initially want. But let's say that TikTok influencer girl who has 51 million viewers starts off by getting all those viewers because she's, twerking semi-naked or doing funny stuff with her family or whatever these TikTokers do. And then she could maintain that following and she herself evolves and grows. And then she could give some hopefully good advice down the road that's going to be good for our society. That's going to create good impact. The scary part is if it doesn't go that way, right? If it goes the opposite direction. But I don't think things are going to be as bad as we like, you always create a worse story in your head of what's really going to happen. I'm pretty sure, in the US back in the 80s, right? Like they felt that way about a lot of things.
Oh yeah, Madonna was like gonna destroy all the youth. And everybody who's 50 now is supposed to be a pervert because of Madonna.
What was it? I saw this well, I don't know how to use the proper terminology here, but it's like Christianity and like religion. Those things are just no longer at their peak. And I don't know if this is factual or not, but it's just what I heard.
Church attendance is way down across America.
Okay, so this is like factual, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when it wasn't like that, right? Everything was like devil worshiper. This is the worst thing. We are all gonna die.
We're all gonna be devil worshippers by the end of the 80s for sure, because of rock and roll music. Or something.
Basically, right? So, and then I wasn't around at that time, but I'm assuming that was a conversation. So it's very easy. Well, I like Gary Vee to some degree here. I agree when he says it's very easy for us to say the TikTokers are the end of us. The social media people. And at one point it was the Kardashians.
Right. The Kardashians are going to make every woman a whore and like materialistic.
And I would say that maybe Kim is making a lot of women businesswomen now.
Yeah.
I think it's the opposite. So I think
she got like a law degree. I think she was like.
What I'm saying is, it's my hypothesis, right? That she's going. That thinks if you have the viewers and you know how to transition it into something impactful, even if the way you got it wasn't the most ideal way, but if the lasting impression. The last impression is the lasting impression. I believe that. The last impression is the lasting impression. So it's like what you leave people with is how they ultimately remember you.
So our hope is that some girl that's going to get to 100 million followers because she twerks half naked, she's going to grow up just like everybody grows up.
Yes.
Beauty fades a little bit in that traditional TikTok movie star form.
Maybe.
And then, yeah, hopefully that person grows and learns and realizes like, oh, I can have 100 million followers saying interesting stuff and trying to make people's lives better instead of just shaking my ass, which nothing wrong with shaking your ass for 100 million views if that's what you want to do. But that's the hope, right? That these people kind of mature and teach the world a little something.
And I think that's what happens. I think that's what will happen. That's what will happen. Not for everyone, but I think you'll see more of that. I think as human beings, our survival instinct is always trying to have us stay alive and succeed, not the opposite. Then you get into all the conspiracy theories, right? That there's other parties at play who are manipulating the scenes for like a higher agenda, and that's why things are the way they are. That might be true, right? But that's way out of my pay grade. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, that'll be a while.
I always say, yeah, okay, thank you, Scott. But I always say, I won't judge those people until I get invited into that back room. I've never been in that back room. It's easy to judge from a distance. I'm not saying I'm going to turn into like, this very bad guy, but I don't know what's going on in those back rooms. So I don't know what's going on at those conversations or what they're really discussing. There's like Elon Musk and, they have these conspiracies and Bezos and all of that. I'm not there. I'm not there talking to them. So I don't really know what the agenda is. And I don't know if I could judge it because I'm not there to be a part of it yet.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I've been reading a lot about history and what have you. And then I was recommended by this history teacher a book called The Dictator's Handbook, that it's a sociological study of everybody from your lowly city councilman all the way up to the president, all the way up to titans of business. And it really just talks about how you might judge a dictator, you might judge this person, or you might judge this person. But at the end of the day, everybody's just trying to control their, or, keep their own control and power and grow their influence. Like, you want to control your body, you want to control your health, you want to control your business, and you want to grow your influence and just have more business and more success. And for some people, that's more money, it's more time off, it's more whatever. But when you look at it through the lens of this book, The Dictator's Handbook, it's like, oh yeah, all this stuff, even all the way up to the most heinous person in the history of the world, Hitler, all the way up to then, you can kind of understand how it's their psyche, and it just kind of makes sense in their mind to keep control. So I don't judge, the Bill Gates or the Republicans or the Democrats, because it's like, yeah, they're just playing a game. They're just trying to keep control. And I'm not there. I don't know what the grand master plan is. And you can kind of just see they're just the little kid wanting to hold on to their ball in the sandbox.
And there's another layer to that. Right, there's a saying that says, hell is made of good intentions. I don't know what Hitler's intentions were, but maybe he thought they were good intentions.
Yeah.
So I think what happens with a lot of dictators and all these individuals who are playing these games at a higher level, they might think they're doing it with good intentions. It might not be good intentions, but in their mind, right, they believe they're doing something with good intentions. I don't know.
Yeah, it's creepy because
everybody
thinks they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Most people don't go through their day thinking that they're doing the right
the wrong thing. Yes.
So they've convinced themselves one way or another. Fascinating. So you mentioned a couple times flying back and forth to Vegas, and we talked about what's going on there. Are you training? Do you have another business there? I know you've kind of got your hands in a couple other businesses, or is it just your clients that are in Vegas want you to train in person in Vegas, or what's going on?
I'm actually training no people in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
So no clients, and that's I am expanding Per Fitness into Vegas, right? And we are starting with the immersion retreats. Immersion retreats was inspired to me after going to Tony Robbins' 2018 Business Mastery. He talks a lot about immersing yourself into anything, becoming obsessive with it, being all in, learning it, right, and then moving on. And these retreats are meant to kind of have individuals fly in, stay, got this beautiful property, about the size of your property. It's a very big property, 4 bedrooms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bathrooms. So I can host and do masterminds, doing the whole like life coaching thing, business coaching, so like Proximity Wolfpack, and then also host these retreats. And a lot of my clients are super excited to be a part of these retreats and go in. We're going to have like the infrared lights. I did one actually. I did a retreat in Cabo right before COVID.
I remember I was so upset when I saw everything.
You saw that.
I would have gone to Cabo and been healthy for 5 days, although hard to not drink in Cabo.
Right. So I allow the drinking. So it's not like I'm limited. Remember, the clients that I work with, it's not about, making them bodybuilders or making them trainers. What it's about is their performance, right? So it's like, if you're always going to smoke a cigar, I'm not going to say, don't smoke a cigar. It's about how do we make smoking a cigar optimal, and when do we do it? And I do that research to find out when is the optimal time to smoke a cigar. And Arnold was used to smoke weed and all that. And back then we was like taboo, but now it's like, it makes sense. It was optimal. Look, you've done some studies like smoking a cigar, maybe it's meditative. I'll pitch that, to my CEO clients. I'll say, hey, look, smoking a cigar is meditative. So we're going to go ahead and at the end of the week, when we've earned, whatever the objective is while we're here, we're going to celebrate, we're going to have these, and I'll buy like these signature cigars or something like that. That's the whole point of these retreats. And we did one in Cabo with one of our executive clients who had his team over there. And it was so high stress because his company, they do events worldwide. So right when COVID hit, you could imagine his stress. Yeah. And he was literally, when I wasn't interacting with him and his team, he was on the phone the entire time that we were in Cabo, which was about 4 to 5 days. But he still had a phenomenal time, and I was just there to kind of like, it actually worked out great. It was the ideal time to do the retreat leading into that. And then I didn't see him for like the remainder of the year because COVID happened and he got stuck overseas and whatnot. But yeah, so the retreats, that's what we're doing in Vegas, and my objective is, if it does well in Vegas, which is a 45-minute flight from Los Angeles, which is where the headquarters is, where most of our business is at. If it does well in Vegas, going to Arizona. I have online clients in Arizona that I think would be interested in doing it. And then,
so is this like 4 or 5 days of like boot camp where you get there, you learn how to eat, do the
Boot
sauna,
camp,
do the workouts?
well,
Like, what is it?
So it's more retreat style. So yeah, boot camp kind of, because I'm a little, how passionate I am. So it's kind of like wake you up at 5 a.m, make you jump into my cold pool. We go on a hike, training, yoga. We have IV, come in and do IV therapy on you guys, Theragun. So it's basically like all immersed into health and fitness. But I would not, for example, go to the extreme yet, to like take away phones and like fully immerse you, because it's just too extreme for the type of clients that I work with.
Right.
Makes sense.
Right. And that's not real life anyway. Like, I'm always gonna have my cell phone on me for work and life and
but
whatnot.
so many benefits. Let's say you want to conquer going on vacation with your family. When you leave my emergent retreat, you'll feel confident you could do that and never, ever feel like you're taking a step backwards when it comes to overall quality of life and performance.
Yeah. Oh, there was like 5 years in a row where I would take my running shoes on every, vacation, hotel stay. And I'm like, oh, like, I'm not a big partier. So I'll wake up in the morning, I'll just go for a 20-minute run just to like keep the fitness level up a little bit, because I know I'm going to be eating a little bit more hotel food or whatnot. And didn't matter. 5 years, never took those fucking running shoes out of the suitcase. And so I just stopped taking them because I'm like, this is not going to work for me.
You know what I would have done to solve that?
No.
Right. So the vacations you went on, right? How many had a beach?
None.
None had a beach?
Well, I mean, these are like business trips, like 3 days to Phoenix, 3
Okay,
days
so
to
you weren't,
Vegas.
these weren't family vacations.
No. These were like the family vacations. I can eat a little bit healthier. We're doing more stuff outdoors with
Got
the
it.
kids. It's the 2 to 4 days, stints in Vegas or Arizona,
Got
or
it.
visiting our ops center. So it's like those really boring business
Hotel vacations.
hotel vacations where you're also going to eat out every
Got it.
single meal because you're with the team or whatever.
Easy solve. Your limiting belief was the shoes, right? You took the shoes, and every time you didn't move the shoes out, you didn't do any activity. I would have had you just work out in the room barefooted, right? And if you were on the beach, you had those, like if your thing was, I'm taking these shoes to run, that the shoes were the problem. That triggered you to do no activity in terms of running, because you were just saying, taking these shoes to run, but I'm on a business trip. I got a lot of things going on. So if I don't take these shoes out, I'm not going to go for a run. So you got away with doing nothing because you didn't take the shoes out. I say, go run barefoot. I'm crazy like that. But the whole idea there is like, forget about the shoes. The shoes aren't the problem. And then you don't need to take the shoes with you. So then what you did was you removed the guilt of taking the shoes. And once you remove the shoes and you stop taking them, now you had no reason to do activity because you didn't bring your shoes. The shoes were the problem, not the running.
What's so funny is you mentioned the word guilt. Sure enough, every time I would get back, and this is why I stopped taking them, because I take them out of the suitcase and be like, oh yeah, another 3-day trip to Vegas to see Phoenix to see the team, and all I did was drink and eat burgers, and I didn't run. I'm such a piece of shit. Why am I even going to work out this week? And then it would not only would it derail me when I was on the business trip, it would derail me for the upcoming week or two.
And then here's why you hire Per Fitness. I'm gonna tell you why. Because you're a high profile individual, business trips, your mind needs to be at a high performing. Every single time you saw the shoes, you didn't run, you were affecting your performance. Mental performance was being affected. You were taking a jab at your brain. I know you like to fight. You were jabbing your brain with negativity and guilt. You don't need that when you're trying to be high performance. You need to be the opposite. You need affirmation. You need momentum. If you would have ran, you would have probably had better business trips. But because you weren't running, because it was like see the psychology behind everything.
Yeah, nasty circle.
It's nasty circle, man.
Oh, that's brutal.
Goodness, can we like tax your listeners or something? Can I get like
yeah,
what do these influencer girls do? Yeah, cash app at wolfie.com. Oh no.
If somebody
OnlyFans. Only bro, my God, they're making so much money with this OnlyFans stuff. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
I work too hard for my money. They're making it too easy.
There's a couple comedians that are like big, grotesque, obese guys, and they have like a fans only page, and they're killing it because people are like, yeah, I'll give you $2 or $3 for just satire and making fun of all the good looking ones. So yeah, I told my buddy that he's a healthy 250, 260. He's a comedian. I'm like, you should just start a fans only page. He's like, bro, that was totally done like 6 months ago. There's a bunch of fat, gross comedians just have their own fans only page. But I always like to ask that question because I have that background in business and mortgage and whatnot, and I'm always fascinated by people and how they make their money. We interviewed a drag queen a couple weeks ago named Volta, and I asked her, I was like, hey, so like, who tips you? Like, who gives you money? Like, what's the economy look like? So in that higher end of training, and you don't have to disclose anything personal about obviously anybody's.
You got to go and finish that story though, real quick.
Oh yeah, she said it's like a bachelor party. You know, the people that are they're there to have fun. They tip. They're pushing $5 down my bra, buying me a drink.
But is she doing well financially? I mean, I don't know. You don't have to go.
You know, now not at all because she has no live events.
What about OnlyFans? Does that doesn't work for her?
Not really, because the
I don't know how that works.
the genre plays more in person, and this is something I didn't understand about drag queens. She was very clear. He was very clear, and then he became a she. Was very clear. Like, this is just a business. I don't. You know, he goes, I don't want to be a woman. I'm not a transvestite.
No.
I don't.
You're
like,
lying. I've never heard that before.
I didn't know this either about the community. He said, no, this is just a performance art. This is just like you would dress up in a play.
All of them, or she a rare occasion?
Yeah, no, he's just a gay man and has all the male body parts. He just happens to like dudes. And he said a vast majority of drag queens are gay men who have no interest in being a woman.
Interesting.
It's just performance art.
It's just performance art.
Yeah, it's a job.
It kind of makes sense though.
Totally.
I agree.
Yeah.
I did, but I've never heard it, and I would have never thought it. Okay, what were you gonna ask me? Go ahead.
Oh, so just, you know, and again, you don't have to disclose any personal contracts or anything, but what does the world of, you know, personal fitness look like? You know, maybe you can explain to us. You go all the way back to the 24-hour fitness. I don't know if you ever worked in a place
I've
like
never
that.
worked for a franchise gym or corporate gym. I've always
then
been
you want to know
independent.
about that world. Never mind. So let's.
I
just
do
talk
know
about
because I hire in comparison, but yes, go ahead. Tell me.
Yeah. So what does that look like? You know, the trainer, maybe since you hire these people, the trainer at Equinox versus like you can build your own book of business versus you're working with some high profile individuals.
I think it varies for a lot of.
Sorry, I accidentally cut you off there. So.
That's okay. Don't worry. I think it varies for a lot of. I can't answer for everyone, right? So I guess what you want to kind of, if I understand fully, you want me to give you like an insight into my world or just a broad?
Either one, as personal as you want to be, as vague as you want to be. Just like what is the economics of being a higher end personal trainer even look like?
The black and white economics is like being a lawyer, right? You just charge a certain amount for the hour. That is not how I do things, but that's just how trainers usually do things, right? So you have your trainer. I'm assuming somewhere out there in the world, there's a trainer who's charging minimum wage for the hour. You know, I mean, an independent trainer, because every single trainer that works for a corporate gym or a franchise gym gets paid like an employee. That's just standard. And then you get promoted like an employee, right? Because you work for a company. That's just, I guess, the rule of law there. I'm pretty sure some mom and pop gyms out there, or some franchise gyms maybe have a commission base. I give all of my trainers profit share. I don't want to have them competing against me. I want them to build with me, collaborate with me. So I give them a piece of the company, what the company makes in profit. There's incentives. I also do a lot of incentives, and I believe in, again, I want like my team of trainers right now over the weekend. They were all working. They weren't on the shift. They were just all working because they wanted to hit an incentive, which then I'm gonna go now as the the leadership role and fulfill my incentive. Things from like a car, puppies, veneers. Incentives, right? Like these are things that I ask, what do you guys want? And they tell me what they want, and I say, okay, great. And now I'm gonna tell you what I want, and let's get to work. So I think there has to be a structure like that. So with trainers that are not in corporate gyms, maybe mom and pop gyms, I think that most trainers charge by the hour. I think when you charge by the hour, because I'm trying to break that limiting like beyond the hour, I charge for a contract. So a contract is just basically like, how much am I gonna charge you to get the job done, whatever that job is. And I just put a price tag on that, based on a lot of different variables. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I know. We met through a weird situation. I think we got hooked up on an app where you were advertised as a professional.
Oh yeah, it's a whole different story with them.
But no, I liked the fact, like, once we got deeper into the relationship and you were just very honest, you're like, hey, we don't charge by the hour because we think that like the relationship doesn't stop there. I want you to text me all the food that you're eating for the first couple of weeks that we work together so I can help you adjust there. Like, it was very much living up to your motto beyond the hour. My wife was like, who is this dude, man?
It's kind of annoying.
Yeah. She's like, are you sure you're not just cheating on me and you put this chick's name in your phone as Michael? And I was like, no, I promised. No weird chick would want me to text every picture of every food that I'm sending and get feedback. So I really appreciate that. And then unfortunately it didn't work out because with traffic we ended up being like an hour apart.
Excuses. I'm kidding. No, I'm still here. I love Scott no matter what.
We didn't know because of COVID we could do all this stuff remotely, and you could have just told me to.
And our relationship, we have many more years together to figure things out, man. This is just the beginning. All right. Perfect. First, I love Trifecta. We're gonna go ahead and have you you try our Per Fitness meals, and if they're better than us, I need you to tell me why.
Okay.
Just not on your podcast.
Okay, perfect. So I'll delay my next couple orders of trifecta food. We'll get on Per Fitness. I'll get the delivery food. And,
Love that.
Then we'll compare and contrast. So then when we met and we were talking about deepening the relationship, I was shocked because I didn't know that personal trainers had this contractual obligation. There was a monthly fee, and I thought it was reasonable for what you provided with the kind of with the mental fitness, and then more of the life coaching. It was a different experience, and I don't think I've seen any other trainers do that. So you've got to be one of the early adopters, or maybe leading the way of having a fitness contract.
I am one of the early adopters, and is one of the challenges is that it's breaking mental I do very well because I'm good at doing it, but I probably lose out on a lot of amazing potential people out there who are just calling me asking how much for the hour, and get turned off by me saying, "Can I get to know you more?" They're like, "Shut up! How much for the hour?"
Right.
I'm like, "I don't charge for the hour. I'm asking you how much for the hour." I'm like, I don't charge for the hour, but I guess maybe we're not the best fit because I'm trying to get to know you more. Why are you calling me? And then the ones that get to know me more have hired 6 other trainers. And the ones that stay with me are like, "You're the real deal, man." And now the problem is, how do I turn that into a company? Where they're like, "Okay, I want to work with your company." And so I'm building a culture where the trainers under me understand that. I'm not trying to make them like me, right? They're fulfilling one of the services that I offer. So I'm very much the one who's on the phone calls or the personal phone calls. I'm the one who's taking the clients to the mall because they lost weight and they've never bought a V-neck before, and they want to go on a date and they want to try on 4 different leather jackets around me. So my time has become my biggest resource. I've parted ways with certain individuals and clients because they didn't value my time. It's not about the money. And that's what the contracts really come into play. Like, the time has become more valuable because I'm doing so much for each individual person that I work with. Very early stages, the book Train the Trainer is basically teaching trainers, because the best way for me to succeed long-term is to have everyone else do the same thing, because then it becomes a playing field where people aren't calling asking for the hour. They're calling saying, "Oh, by the way, my other guy does contracts. Like, what's your contract like?"
Right.
Now we're having fun, right?
Yeah.
I don't gotta shift your mind. I gotta just convince you that my contracts make more sense. But I'm not shifting you. It's like, "Hey, how much to rent your house?" And I know, "Buy my house." No, "how much to rent your house?" No, "Buy my house." And you gotta convince him to buy your house, right? But if he's just calling you and saying how much to buy your house because he's interested in buying, you're not gonna say rent my house. You're gonna say, "Yeah, great. Here's how much it is to buy my house." So Train the Trainer, the ebook, is to teach trainers to stop doing sessions and do contract, which is what we do here. And I know people are like, "Why are you teaching other trainers?" I just told you why I'm teaching other trainers. I want everyone to be interested. The world will be a better place because most people have worked with multiple trainers, and most people are paying for the hour.
Right.
And when you pay for the hour, you are only committing to that 1 hour that you paid for, and then you don't pay for it. And I have a phenomenal partnership with how you met me. I'm not going to continue using their name just for like privacy and stuff like that. So I still, by very means, am able to be booked by the hour. And I do that for the value of my relationship with those 2 people that I mentioned, Joshua and David. They have been great every time there's a PR opportunity, they reach out to me or Jane. I'm interested in investing in their app, but I'm thinking of a long-term relationship with them. Instead of me trying to go ahead and compete with them in that avenue, I just like what they're doing, and I like who they are, and that's why I have my services there like that. But whenever someone else reaches out to me through another party, I definitely tell them about the contracts, and I go that route.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. And talk about that, the hour. I think it's really easy for, people that go to church on Sunday to get their Sunday fix, and then they're, gossipers, and they're doing exactly the stuff they're not supposed to during the week. Same thing. I know people will go to a trainer, and then, I'll be at the gym and I'll look at some of the dudes that are with their trainer, and I'm like, you might be cheating. Like, I don't know. So how, in the best of relationships, you're with somebody, with their physical fitness and their lifting and working out, for an hour a day, maybe 7-8 hours a week at the most.
I only do 3 hours of training a week.
3 hours of training a week.
I don't
per
do
person.
more with my clients or less. And we only do 3. Let me take that back. Very rare occasions will I do more, or usually never less, but very rare occasions will I do more than 3 hours a week.
So 3 hours a week. So then how have you fostered that relationship? Is it through an app or a follow-up system or a CRM or, just, did you have a spreadsheet? Like how are you deepening the relationship during the week outside those 3 hours? Cause I'm not kidding. When we were working together, my wife is like, who is this dude? So how are you deepening that relationship and managing it?
So right now I'm getting, because of Patrick by David, I'm getting a lot more engaged in operations and making it more systematic. Right. We do the spreadsheets, we do the applications that we use, the MyFitnessPal apps, and I have more than one phone and my iPad. And the truth is, I'm just working really hard to manage all of it, but that's only gonna take me so far. Like, I'm capping out, so I'm creating these operation systems. I'm in the process of hiring actually an administrative assistant, another one, a personal assistant, just to even help manage all of this here. I'm really good at building relationships. I think that's just something I'm naturally good at, because I genuinely listen to people. And like you said earlier, everyone feels like, oh my God, he agrees with me, right? Because I'm just listening, and I'm listening not to judge, but to learn. And that just makes you feel, people like that. They just gravitate to you. And I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to make it seem like every single client I interact with or everything has been a success story. It hasn't. You learn from a lot of experiences. But I manage it with, we have the spreadsheets, of course. I have a team. The team helps a lot. I mean, now more than ever, like, I see the importance of a team. Remember, even when I let everyone go back in March, because the whole COVID thing, it was pretty early stages of team building and leadership role. And I made a mistake there. What I should have done was, spend the money and see the value of continuing to build the team. The team is going to be crucial. For me, it's all about listening to the client. So right now we are in the process of sending, there's a I forgot where I heard it, but it's like the person, let's say the client, let's just use the word the client, so we're talking about this here. So for your listeners, the client or customer who doesn't complain and gives you silence is planning to leave you, right? So I'm always asking my clients, how do you feel? What can I do better? What don't you like? I love everything. What don't you like? What can I do better? How do you feel? Always. What do you think? How did that go? How do you feel? And eventually they're going to open up about a lot of things. Not only my business, just a lot of things going on. No, man, I love everything, but the reason this is because of that. And then how can I add value to that? And it's just always about adding value, right? And it's, one of my clients, she's had a tough time. A lot of people have passed away. And I'm super busy. So, I mean, she knows how busy I am. But I sent her a message. I said, listen, she wrote to me, this happened, someone passed away. And I said, I'm going to call you today. On the way here, I called her. And she was having dinner with her husband. I just said, hey, how you doing? How's everything? Yeah, I got to take the week off. That's fine. If you need me, still send your photos if you can. But I'll see you next week. I'm here for you. Just wanted to check in. Like, that's beyond the hour. She'll remember that more than a 1 hour workout. And then what will happen is her long-term goal of being healthier is fulfilled. Because any other trainer who, let's say, got paid for 15 sessions up front, is not going to call that client until the 15 sessions are up. And it becomes like this robotic system. And if she's paying per session and she's going through this, she doesn't feel the need to message the trainer. She didn't pay for the next session. He doesn't feel that he'll check in on her, but he doesn't know what's going on. So he'll just say, hey, are you showing up for training on Wednesdays? Give me my $200, my $100, my $50, my $45. So then the client doesn't succeed. The relationship is being built. The session is the problem. I really truly believe the session is like this. It's almost like that caveman mentality of thinking that, fitness and health and losing weight is just a workout and a meal plan.
Yeah.
It's beyond that.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I've read a couple books recently, Willpower Doesn't Work and Atomic Habits, both great books for trying to adjust habits. But I just realized, like, even around the trigger or even around the house, which now we're all working from home, I have so many triggers to, like, put a spoonful.
The fridge one. Remember the fridge one?
Yeah,
I still remember that. You told me about that. You walk by the fridge and you're like, open the fridge.
Open the fridge. See what's in there. Like, let's just check it out, And it's like all of a sudden you add a tablespoon of this, or you add a soda, or you add, just munching into this or grazing on that. And I think I added up one time. I was like, oh, dude, I added like 1,500 calories today just by grazing and having these different triggers. And some of them are business. Some of them are emotional. Some of them are just like visual.
And how do you solve that?
Fuck if I know. If I would solve it, I'd be
God,
190
bro,
instead of
you're
210.
you're tricking your listeners. They're like, do they know each other or they don't know each other? All right, I swear I've told them the answers to this. You solve that by adding a positive trigger. If every time you walked to that fridge and grabbed a spoon, you took a photo and sent it to me, you wouldn't grab more spoons. It's that simple. It really is.
Or you'd just be shameful and be hiding spoons of peanut butter from you.
Not if we're building a meaningful relationship.
Right.
Not if when you do that, right? Then I see you and you gain 5 pounds, and I'm like, hey man, what's going on? You gain 5 pounds, and then you say, listen, what's going on is man, you've been eating more spoons, and I'm like, but you didn't send a photo. Why aren't you sending the photo? Oh man, I feel shameful. Why are you feeling shameful? Oh man, because I want to drop the weight. I want to see the results. And I was like, okay, so then why are you anxious? Why are you eating more food? Is it emotional? Is it just boredom? Oh man, yeah, it's boredom. Just stuck at home all day. Well, how about this? How about we get out of the house more? How can we get you out of the house more? How about you send me a photo from now on of you going for a walk with your dog for 1 hour? I'll give you an example.
Right.
That's how many trainers do that? Not enough. And then how do you feel about me? This guy didn't judge me. This guy didn't try to make me a bodybuilder. I didn't make you feel shameful about eating more spoons, right? I just wanted you to send me photos. And then now you'll maybe send me an extra photo of the spoon. But eventually you'll stop eating the spoons.
Yeah, I like that. One of the healthiest guys I know in COVID, he was having some mental health challenges. He was just stressed, right, because of work. And he's like, I just set my timer for every hour and a half. I go for like a 1 mile walk. And like his 1 mile walk time is down from like 24 minutes to like 12 minutes. He's cutting in half. He's like, I'm making phone calls. I'm catching up on 10, 15 minutes of a podcast. I'm getting the blood flowing. And
what did he do, really, Scott?
Yeah, a positive trigger there.
A positive, high five,
yes,
high five. A positive, like honestly, just let all the listeners know, if you have bad habits or bad triggers, the best way to fix a bad habit, like The Greatest Salesman in the World, right? Have you read the book? I don't know if you read the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, but the only way to fix a habit is with another habit. If you have a bad trigger, fix it with a good trigger.
Nice. So I got to start doing like 5 push-ups every time I walk by the fridge. So
but that's more of a yes and no, because that's more of a negative. Like that's if you genuinely love push-ups, if you don't see push-ups as a negative, because what you're doing there is you're punishing yourself, and then that will create the whole shoe in the luggage again, right? Don't punish yourself. So your trigger doesn't need to be push-ups unless you love push-ups. Unless push-ups,
no one loves push-ups.
Well, then push-ups, it wouldn't be the answer, right? So whatever
burpees are kind of fun.
Whatever you love needs to be a reward. I know it sounds tricky. Like reward yourself when you have the peanut butter. Don't punish yourself. So don't reward yourself with more peanut butter, guys. That's what I'm trying to say. But it needs to be a positive trigger. So like you're like, go for a walk, right? If you like, I see myself enjoying a walk, right? Put on my headphones on, catch up on the podcast. I'm gonna do that instead. Eventually, you will just do your walk. You won't have the peanut butter. But if you create a negative association, like I'm gonna do more cardio because I ate more food. Eventually, you'll try it. You'll hate the fact that you ate more food. You'll hate the fact that you're doing the more cardio because you hate both things, and then you're just gonna eat the food anyways and not do the cardio. The shoes and the luggage analogy is the same exact thing.
Yeah. And how much of when you're working with clients, because I'm imagining most people come to you either because of energy levels or like weight. Everybody says, I want to drop 20 pounds. I gotta get a trainer. And then so when people come to you with that weight loss, and I know it's more holistic, is it usually they need more activity or is it usually diet?
It varies on case to case. But like I said earlier in the podcast, I think everyone needs improvement with nutrition. So to answer your question, nutrition is always going to be an improvement. But it varies case to case. Someone might come to me and say, I need to lose weight. And met this lady. We haven't gotten started. I got to follow up with her, actually. She's interested in starting first week of February. I'm coming for you. I'm coming if you're watching. And she was very active. Peloton, active. As an overachieving woman, Beverly Hills, a very active person. Not losing the weight, not losing the stubborn fat. So clearly her challenge will most likely be nutrition, right? Not exercise. But then you have somebody who doesn't do any activity, hasn't done activity in 5 years. Doesn't mean that they don't need nutrition, right? It's just up to me to find out what I could get them to focus on first. Because a result is highly motivating. So if I could get them to focus on something that's going to go ahead and create a reward system for them and then positive triggers, now with what they hate, right? What they can go ahead and kind of commit to first, I'm going to have more success.
Nice. And what type of fitness activity, like you said, your average client is 40 to 60 years old, businessman, businesswoman, a lot of responsibilities, probably kids, the whole 9 yards. What do you find is like the quick fix fitness? Is it going for a walk or a hike or a swim or a, I don't know what all these terms are, HIIT workouts and resistance workouts, and like, what's your kind of go-to fitness exercise for somebody who's really busy, kind of has like that CEO or top producing salesperson's lifestyle?
Whatever is the most efficient and easiest to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a very high profile individual, like it just comes to my head, right? Ridiculous schedule. Probably the most efficient exercise for him would be waking up in the morning and either doing 100 squats or 100 jumping jacks or any body weight movement. No gym, no nothing. Right next to the bed, jumping in a cold shower, and then getting his day started, and just doing that day in and day out.
That's enough to get started.
That's enough to succeed. It's compound. That person, because here's what happens. That person will do that, but this is a piece of cake. It's a high-profile, overachieving person. You think they're going to do less if they see a result from just that? They'll eventually do more, as long as you let them know that if they ever feel burnt out, they just go back to doing that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. That's your baseline.
That's your baseline. And it's not complicated, and it's efficiency.
Yeah.
It's not you gotta put on a Peloton. It's not, you need a Peloton, you need an Apple Watch, you need to get the shoes out of the, I'm gonna go back to that a lot. It's not complicating it, right? It's just efficiency. Just making it, because this is the high individual, like, who has a lot going on. Now you tell me it's Beverly Hills housewife who doesn't have a lot going on, but she has a kids, but she has a nanny, she has a help. Then I would say something like, okay, well, we can dedicate, an hour 3 times a week. Maybe on a 4th day, I want you to go on a hike with your friends, pre-COVID, or go on a walk or Peloton ride. It's different structure that I would create, because what she might have is too much time on her hands. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean, too much time in her hands. Like, she might not, her brain might throughout the day have like a window of like, what do I do now? Right. And then that's when she gets anxiety, or she'll overthink certain things, or he'll overthink certain things. I don't want to discriminate by just saying she. Or he'll overthink certain things, and then he'll walk by the kitchen and so forth. So the very busy individual, don't overcomplicate it, make it efficient, and then compound interest it, like compound the consistency over a period of time. And if you have more time, occupy your time.
Yeah, for these people that are thinking about getting started, with somebody like yourself, obviously you're just here in LA. Hopefully we have some listeners around the country. What do people want to look for if they're looking for more of that like lifestyle trainer, right? Because I'm sure there's just a lot of trainers, especially right now, who will say yes to anything. Any price. Like, it's going to be driving down wages in your industry because it's just a hard time, right? So what should somebody be looking for if they really want to hire somebody top notch? Like, what should they expect to pay? What questions should they ask? Somebody that really wants to change their life.
So I think you can't just be, I always say, you can't just be a pretty face. You got to know your stuff. Like, I've proven that to you with how just like all the data, with our own personal private conversations about like how the body works.
Yeah, right? Nutrition, vitamin recommendations.
I mean, even how does your body get rid of fat, right? Even though those conversations with people
breathing. I was shocked how much more good.
But even those things, you want to find out if you're someone who's looking to get a trainer, what do they know, right? And then chemistry is important. But more importantly, if you've hired a trainer before, don't make the same mistake. So if you've hired a trainer before and you went around shopping for the best price, or even the most expensive trainer, but it was just about the pricing, and that's how you made your assessment, don't make that mistake. Understand that what you're trying to accomplish requires a sit down, requires a phone call, requires a real conversation. Then make your assessment. And I don't mean just a consultation where you tell them you want to lose weight and they tell you how you're going to do it. They shouldn't know how you're going to do it. They don't even know you yet. How to get started. Where should we start? Like, I just gave a lot of your listeners advice on how to get started. That's why on my, if you go on perfitnesspt.com, another plug here, perfitnesspt.com. All right.
We'll make sure it's in the show notes.
Thank you. So if you go there, when you land on the page, it says unleash your best body, start here. And when you hit start here, you fill out a form for me to call you. It's not start here, buy my program. Start here. Now I call you within 24 hours. And if you're willing to talk, then we can get you started and make it permanent. I think if any of my clients, out of the many that I have the blessing opportunity to work with, will say he's not like any other trainer I've worked with. Just because of that one component where I'm genuinely trying to solve your problem. I am so crazy. I'm gonna throw in another storyline here. This happened this week, Monday. I have this client of mine. She's listening to this probably. She is hard. She's a hard one. She told me, she was like, I'm gonna be your most difficult client when we get started. I love her to death. She's amazing. But I've been trying to find ways to flip that psychological trigger of like self-sabotaging. And she's highly competitive. So now I don't work with her husband, but her husband, who's a very high-profile individual, also was in the kitchen. And I somehow convinced them both to start competing with each other. And she wants this ridiculous, expensive pair of earrings, and who knows what he wants, because he said, whatever I want. And she was, what do you mean whatever you want? But anyways, they're competing now, 30 days to see who can lose the most weight. Now, I wouldn't recommend this for most people, but for her, I've tried everything. So what the competition here for her is hopefully to break some of her mental barriers. And I don't want to go too deep into her traumas and what we're working on, but to break some of her mental barriers. And so it's a lot of psychology behind this challenge. It's just not a challenge of weight loss. I don't want to confuse your listeners. I just don't want to go in depth into what I do with my clients. Right. But I've tried everything, and I'm confident that this competition for her, right, like based on how I see their relationship, that this is gonna trigger a compound of momentum in the right direction for her. Makes sense? Yeah. So totally. It's about doing stuff like that, and like I did that. She's already paying me 6-month contract. What she did, 3-month contract, and she did 6-month contract. Big contracts. She's already paid. You would think, oh, he's paid. He's good, and I get paid up front. And I'm still, her workout with me was over. And I spent an extra hour in the kitchen negotiating with her husband as a mediator beyond the hour. I didn't get paid for that hour. I got paid a contract to get a job done. And once I get the job done, then I sit down and I renegotiate another contract to make it permanent. And then eventually I want to transition them to work with a company where I don't need to be full hands-on. Me and her still have a phenomenal relationship together. We could go ahead and I could be in charge of her, like the conversations and everything, but the actual like day in and day out operations is done by the team. Makes sense? Yeah,
because the physical training,
correct,
the doing the motions, going through the movements.
Correct.
You told me, you're like, that's really the easy part.
Correct.
You're like, I can hire somebody with a couple of years of experience,
correct,
and a good eye for body posture,
yes,
to do that, and then I can do the relationship. Almost like you move into the head coach, general man, or you move into the general manager role.
Correct.
And you're moving the chess pieces, but you send maybe one of your trainers to do the physical.
That's what we're doing now already. We're doing that now already. And I still have a select few clients that I'm working with. And I'm a results oriented. Like the bigger the challenge, the more excited I am to work on the client. And I have some clients right now who are definitely challenging me. And it's also a sensitive time, right? With COVID, like everyone's heightened emotional states. And that's why I do a lot of every time I'm on a plane, I'm on a podcast. I mean, not a podcast. I'm on a YouTube channel. I download the video, and I'm listening to like how to deal with conflict. How to negotiate. Who's that guy who the FBI negotiator? Don't know his name. I forgot his name.
Chris Voss.
Chris Voss.
I got his book right back here somewhere.
Right there. Yep. There you go. Never split the difference. Yeah. There you go. Chris Voss.
Amazing guy.
Yeah. So I listen to his stuff, how they speak, everything, and I do all this learning. I mean, I'm traveling 3-4 times a week. That's like 3-4 hours a week there and back. 8 hours a week of just learning, so I could deal with all the new challenges that COVID has brought upon. Because when without COVID, everyone is more or less very excited to be getting a return on their investment. They pay you, you're a great guy, you're doing a good job, they're happy. But when there's emotional distress, everyone's looking for a reason to be unsatisfied.
Right.
And there are plenty of reasons to be unsatisfied, because there's a lot of things out of our control right now. And that's why I put up that video yesterday, which just it frustrates me on certain things. But my job is to get to the bottom line. Like what's the real thing here? What's really going on? Like the negotiation. Why are you really unsatisfied? And it might be that, you don't like who got elected a president, but you're mad at me, because you're not losing weight. But it's more that you don't like who got elected president because you're concerned about your kids. And if I could go ahead and just flip that association with losing weight, like remove both things. And I'll give you an example. This actually truly happened. Is like the chances of my high profile clients really being affected by the president are slim to none. It's just the truth. Like it's 4 years.
They're going to be successful no matter what.
They're yeah, 4 more years, so we'll get another president or the same president, but you'll be fine. Like maybe slight changes here and there, but it's not really affecting you directly to the point where you gotta like be depressed. At least I think you could be concerned about the future, but this is the average person goes through like what 13 presidents, if I have that right.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Sounds about right? So like, are you really gonna be flipping out emotionally after every single person gets elected? Like, I mean, I could get you get me. So that's I try to like talk about that, but in a different format, you know, and have a real in-depth conversation. And I, by the way, I never do. I don't want to confuse any of your listeners. I never do this based on the hours that we commit to on their contract that are meant to be for training and nutrition. This is beyond the hour, so no one gets confused. This is the extra value that makes me irreplaceable. It's not like I show up for, give you an example, a 3 p.m. workout, and it's from 3 to 4, and we're talking. 3 to 4, we're stimulating you. And I noticed that you weren't really there. So from 4 to 5, I'm talking to you. Make sense?
Yeah.
And that's why I try not to book myself back to back. And, you know, all these different things. So but for me, the biggest challenge has always been my time and scaling, because I just give but I charge good. You know, and I'm involved in different other products. Stock market has done very well. I have a lot of money in the stock market, and that's done very well for me. I do hard money loans, you know, small businesses and entrepreneurs that I believe in, and they either pay me back with interest, 20% interest on my money, or, you know, they'll give me profit share. So I have my money working for me, and I'm not by any means mega millionaire rich or anything like that. I don't want to confuse anybody, right? Whatever. Anyways, so but I do well enough so I never have to look at my bank account and say, oh my God, my bills. And I have some pretty high bills, but never have to look at it and be like, oh my God, my bills. I think that peace of mind allows me to just be ambitious, add value, and continue growing. Like just the peace of mind of not having to worry about my bills because I'm working hard and smart, then I can add more value. I mean, look what we're doing here. Can you imagine if I was worried about my bills?
No,
I wouldn't be able to.
Somebody for $15 an hour right now.
Correct. I'd be training Chris. You guys would be like, guys, so the podcast, everybody, can we work out? Guys,
I need $15.
Yeah. Or worse. I'd be like, you Scott, what am I gonna get out of this, man? Yeah, I'm driving you. You're far from me. Am I gonna go? Do you get paid? And maybe you would be open to that conversation, but it's not how you should do things. You first, Scott's invited me to be on Edge podcast. I'm gonna go and add some value. And if his listeners like me and Scott likes me, maybe he invites me a few more times. Maybe they really like me. He's like, man, I want to have you as a regular listener. And I know your time is valuable. What can I do for you? That's how you build a relationship. And maybe I say, you know, Scott, I enjoy it. I don't need anything right now. And that's how you really build a relationship. And 5 years from now, I'm like, hey, Scott, by the way, you know, here's what I'm looking to do. Can you help me out? And you're like, of course, man. That's right. That's how you do things.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned a term there, you know, being irreplaceable. A friend of mine, John Israel, gives this keynote speech talking about becoming irreplaceable. And he's like, hey man, in the age where people are starting to expect like their financial planner and their mortgage people to work like Amazon, where it's like, oh, whatever, you're just a commodity, click this button, do that thing. He goes, you got to work to become irreplaceable. And it sounds like that's exactly what you've done in your business by building those relationships. You know, even when COVID hit, you can transition to Zoom, you can transition to phone calls instead of in person. And, I mean, why was that by design? Maybe we go back to your early story. Like, when did you end up coming from Cuba to the US, and what was it in your life where you just kind of realized inherently, oh, if I add more value, I'll just become irreplaceable?
I give all that credit to the books that I've read, and they all kind of teach the same thing, right? Tony Robbins, but I first want to say something that right now my biggest challenge, believe it or not, has been becoming irreplaceable. None of my clients want to replace me.
Right.
But it's created almost like a, how do I say this? It's a weird thing. So, you know, I've lost a few clients to this. A client will tell me, I'll be like, hey, listen, I can't work with me. I don't have the time. You have to work with me in the company, or right, in a different format. And they'll say, no, if I can't work with you, I only want to work with you. Don't want to work with anyone else. I'm not continuing.
Yeah.
Then they hire someone else.
It's totally you're a victim of your own success almost, right? Like they're so happy with your service that it's hard to replace.
It becomes a double-edged sword, because they almost, like in a resentful way, self-sabotage though, like because they can't work with me, they don't even realize that they're still working with me and my company, right? They'll hire someone else and not get the value, or maybe they will get the value, right? But what I'm saying is like they end up ultimately not working with me, which is what I was just saying is like, hey, you can't work with me all the time. We got to kind of like, you know, work with the company, growing this is the project I'm working on. But it's like, no, so like the mentality of you got to be all mine or not mine at all. Or like, I don't want to be with you at all. Right. And then
I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Because like if you're helping somebody with their food and their fitness,
everything,
and their
your clothes,
kind of,
relationships, everything. It's like we do everything.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like a breakup, right? It's like
it's exactly what's going on.
If we can't date, I don't want to just be your friend,
and I'll date someone else.
Yeah, I'll date someone else.
Period.
Exactly.
Even though ultimately I'm doing what I said I don't want to do, it becomes a breakup. That's what I say is one of my biggest challenges. And then you had asked me something. What was that you were asking me leading into that?
Oh shit, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
That's one of my biggest challenges right now.
Oh yeah. What was the thing you mentioned? You give a lot of credit to the books, but
like, yes, okay.
Growing up, when did you come to the U.S.? How did you grow up in this mindset of like, oh, doesn't matter whether I came from poor, rich, whatever, white, black, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I think you're half white, half black, right?
Correct. Yeah, my father's black.
Mother's white, father's black. Yeah, and I'm like. But you have this mentality of serving. Where did that get cultivated, or what was your youth like?
Jordan Peterson talks about this, and I forgot he talked about this actually to Pat David. They were talking about, are you born with certain political views? I think to some degree you're born with a level of like drive and passion and willpower. It explains my mom at 18 years old without the books got on a raft, right? It might be genetic that I have this ambition to succeed no matter what. Could be, I don't know. Right. So I will say that. But let's just say my storyline. So I grew up in Miramar, which is basically like the Compton of Miami. They call it Murder Mar. It's always on the news. North Miami is primarily just bad neighborhood. You know, but my parents worked hard to give me a good life. So I'm not saying by any means my parents were like, you know, bad parents. I don't think the parenting skills were the best with the resources they had because they come from a third world country. So they parented how they were parented. But I left my house at a very young age, you know, 14 years old. I was already out. Always worked. I did odd jobs I will never forget at that age as a teenager, I would clean this Egyptian woman's house and I would clean her son's room, my age. And she was paying me, what was it, $20 for the whole house back then. One time I was walking and I saw like these guys painting a house outdoors. And I was like, oh, can I help you guys paint for money? Like I just had that's willpower. It's not, you don't read that in the book. But long story short, like that work ethic was always there. And, you know, working at GNC, got the job at GNC, which was like kind of the introduction to fitness. Got the job at GNC and I always, again, had the ambition. There was a commission-based job. You got paid based on the supplement companies you sold. And I was charismatic and sold. And I mean, so good at building relationships. Never forget this story. A guy came in and was interested in buying water, like a water bottle at GNC. He was with his son. I mean, my teenager, around his son's age, more or less. And I'm trying to sell the guy on supplements, but I see he's not really intrigued. So I shift the conversation. And he's like, the guy was impressed by my thing, right? And I'm giving him just like overall advice and talking to his son. And just like, I must have given him some value there where he felt like his son could have benefited from it. So he buys the bottle water, right? And ring him on. I'm like, that sucks, no fucking commission in my head. And he gives me a handshake with a $100 bill. $100 bill. He says, go after your dreams. True story. And I learned multiple things that day. Number one was I'm on the right path somehow, right? Someone believes in me. I'm doing something right coming from my background. Then I also remember sharing it with the coworker who quickly called the manager. And the manager was like, you should not be accepting money. So I learned two things that day. Right? Working for someone else is always going to limit you. This is the end. Then people naturally, if he would have got the $100, maybe the interaction would have been different. But I got the $100. Learned multiple at a young age that don't even realize, but I learned a lot that day. But long story short, really good, very charismatic. People would love to go to just buy supplements from me. The second question that came naturally, I didn't even know what a trainer was. I mean, I grew up, I had gold teeth and braids in the hood.
You had gold teeth? Shut the fuck up.
Diamond cuts and braids.
Oh my God. I wish you had a picture on you.
I probably do somewhere on like, what was it? Photo bucket, MySpace, somewhere out there.
Somewhere out there. Just total.
You know, the whole used to walk around with a pocket knife.
So you were a troublemaker then.
I moved out of my house when I was 14. Think about it, in the bad neighborhoods. Just, yeah. Again, you can't judge who I am today from who I was. This is part of growth. But long story short, the natural question that came at GNC was, are you a trainer? And I'm like, what the fuck is a trainer? But everyone keeps asking me. So I said, I am a trainer.
Yes. I am.
How much do you charge? 240 for the whole month. You know, whatever you want. $240. So even then, I wasn't charging for the session. I was $240 for the whole month. That's what I just said. But it came out of ignorance from not knowing that you're supposed to charge like a lawyer or services an hour. I didn't know that. I just said what I thought, you know, was what I needed. Pay my bills at the end of the month. $240 gets the bills paid somehow. And I was good at it. Good. Again, the passion was just always there. I knew my stuff because at GNC, you got to know your stuff. Right, you learn supplements. And by learning supplements, you learn the human body. I was then getting into working out. I did my first competition when I was 17 years old, which was men's physique. So I was learning fitness while there, and that's how training fell into my lap. And then just the entrepreneurial concept of growing from there. But like anybody who comes from poverty, when you first start making some decent money, for me that was $5,000 a month, more or less. I thought I was the absolute shit at that time, and I was like very egotistical. Long story short, I moved to the Flamingo Towers in South Beach, which was like not the hood. This was like the living in downtown LA in like a high rise with two girls. One of them actually follows me on Instagram. And you know, like they were like hot girls. They would get into the bathtub together and like invite me over. I stopped going to my clients. And I was getting this. By the way, everybody, I was a teenager here. You just remember this. Don't judge me back. I don't want your listeners to get the wrong idea.
Dude, I'll tell some stories on here that it's crazy.
Okay,
shit as a teenager,
so I don't want to, you know, I don't want to confuse anybody from what was going on back then. I'm just being vulnerable here. I wasn't going to my clients. I was a teenager. You know, normal mistakes that you make when you first start making money at a young age. A long story short, I lost all the clients. Couldn't pay the bills there. Ended up homeless. Ended up no way to pay my bills, and I was not gonna go back home. That was the proud mentality again of how I was raised. That you don't teach that stuff, right? And I was on Craigslist looking for hot jobs, and Amway popped up. You remember Amway?
Yeah.
Fucking Herbalife and Amway. The best thing that ever happened, because what do they give you automatically when
sales training?
Sales training, and they give you audiobooks, and they give you books. Think and Grow Rich, and all these different financial IQ, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, Amway didn't work out for me because I was trying to get people involved, and the guy who was telling me he was a millionaire was driving a minivan with a broken watch and a broken iPhone, and people were like, this is a fucking scam. And then I quickly realized, I don't think this guy's really a millionaire. I think he's just telling me back then. So it wasn't for me. Like, I immediately left, but I had all the books, and I didn't want to go back to a job. So I was in my car, like frustrated with, like, you know, I was homeless for probably 2 months, and my best friend, good friend Austin at the time, had a little studio apartment. And he, on the other hand, went into an eviction because he was dating an older girl who he was trying to impress. So he was not paying rent, taking her out of dinners and stuff. And I was like, one day I parked in front of his apartment, and he saw me in the car crying. He was like, bro, what are you doing in the car? I'm like, yo, I sleep in my car. He's like, yo, I'm getting evicted. Why don't you move into my apartment, my little studio apartment? It was like 400 square feet on the beach. And he was like, and help me pay the rent. And I was sleeping on a mattress that had no air. It was broken on the floor for about a year with him, and I rebuilt the personal training business. And from there we moved to Williams Island, which is where DJ Khaled used to live in Aventura. And I had a client which I called my Bentley client, because he used to drive a Bentley back then. And I used to have a Honda Civic with a broken door, because of course when things go bad, everything goes bad. So one day I was in the car, sleeping in the car, and I let the door open, and the truck came and hit the door. Of course,
this
right?
is how life goes.
But how when you're homeless, that's how life goes, right? So things don't get better, they get worse. And he said, man, your personality doesn't match this car. He said, you know, he didn't know my financial situation entirely, but I was finally doing better at this time. And he said, go to BMW, my guy BMW. I shared this story many times. My life-changing story happened because of these events. My guy BMW will get you into BMW. And I go to BMW with my Honda, trade in the Honda, and he gets me, long story short, he gets me into 3 Series BMW, right? It was a 328i, brand new BMW. I've never had a BMW before in my life. So this was, for me, was like a life-changing moment. But I took the BMW out with credit cards. I didn't have the money. I had to put the insurance on the credit card. And long story short, I'm in the BMW driving back to the apartment in Williams Island, which, by the way, I was living in Williams Island, and I was only watching The Wolf of Wall Street for some reason. And that's where the Wolf of Fitness, like how I came up with the name Wolf of Fitness, like something with the movie correlated with me, not with the crime and the illegality, but it just kind of correlated with me somehow. Maybe the growth, the ambition, the passion, something there clicked on me. And I was driving to my apartment, which I didn't have a bed. So it was a nice apartment, We got the nice apartment, the nice location, no furniture. It was just to be in the right demographic. This was all like intuition, maybe from the books, maybe subconscious. I can't explain why these things were done that way, right? But this is just the way they played out. And then maybe the clients that I was already training with who were maybe propelling me in the right direction subconsciously. Could be. Because even the BMW, like with the BMW. So I get the BMW and I'm driving home, and I'll never forget the story. Because I'm in the car, and my stomach is, my mind, my energy is doing two things back and forth. I'm in ecstasy and extreme depression. Literally like a flip of a switch. Ecstasy, I'm driving a BMW, I made it. Depression, I can't pay for this car. Ecstasy, depression, can't pay for this car. Long story short, the guy's name was Isaac, who sold me the BMW, became a client, him and his wife, and they recommended me to a client named Lucy, who I will use her name because she deserves it. And Lucy was one of the clients that helped change my life. She was the first client to do my meal preps back then, before Trifecta even existed. I was doing meal prep before meal prep companies. I just want to say that. It's just a fact. Because I was trying to add more value. And then Lucy recommended me to, she was a big time person in Ball Harbor, Florida, and she connected me to more people, and then business started growing. More people, you start experimenting with prices. You know, the most expensive meal plan I saw back then, I remember, was with a girl from like Dubai or something like that. I didn't even know what Dubai was back then. And I was like, how much for a meal plan? I was doing well, so I just said $1,200 for like a meal plan. She said, okay. Well, okay. Oh, like, shit, that worked. $1,200 for a meal plan. That works here. This is how life goes. And I started experimenting with matching what I was charging with the value. And I remember I would be like, I'll never charge $100 an hour until I look I could charge $100 an hour, for that mentality. So I just started like experimenting with their before Find Your Trainer was bought out, there was Your Trainer. It was like another platform that I just on Google found them, and I built a relationship with them before they got bought out, which is how I was able to kind of like immediately have like a relationship with ownership with Find Your Trainer, because I was excelling. Like I was like one of their top trainers, like always featured. They promoted me to Bravo for like Workout New York, Workout Miami, like celebrity trainer. Like I'm good at what I do. This is, from learning. I'm skipping a lot of stuff here. It's not like it all just felt like I was constantly learning.
Yeah,
right?
I bought the BMW and then life was amazing.
No. It doesn't go like that, right? Like there's books, and when I said the books, like this, all this is with continuation of learning and learning from the people who I'm working with and listening to them and growing. That led to Find Your Trainer buying them out, and that relationship building itself. And now I'm doing very well in Florida, but now I feel like Florida's like kind of like, I started my own supplement company, Ram Sports Nutrition, with two of my friends, and that fell through anyways, but that brought in money too. And now I'm experimenting with supplements, which also I'm now meeting store owners who own Total Nutritions, who owns the Extend Nutrition. Like I'm working with distributors. I'm learning more and more right now. Now I'm in a different platform in the bodybuilding community, because I'm dealing with the supplement owners and so many things. I mean, I met the CEO of like back then was BSN Nutrition. So all these things are just happening. I'm in momentum, right? Momentum is building. And then from there, I said it. Well, Florida's too much. I've been too much trauma here, and I also felt like I capped out, right? Because it's like Miami, Boca, West Palm's too far. It's kind of like you cap out. And, every single guy from Miami is dreaming to move to LA, or a guy from LA dreaming to move to New York to Miami. It's like you want to leave where you come from, right?
Right.
So I was doing very well financially at the time, and I was more strategic. And very well financial for me was like, I finally was like close to hitting six figures back then. For me, that was like very well financially. I said, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So I just said, I used supplements as a reason. So I'm going to expand the supplement company into the West Coast. And I already had clients lined up here just because of the social media was finally booming. And then, I'll never forget, I went to Vegas in 2014, right when like meal plans on social media were booming. And I used to have it linked to my PayPal. And I was in Vegas spending money, and my phone was going beep, 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 and I was making money. And everything started changing there. You see, like, you spent $100, you made $100. Right? Like things were changing. And so then I moved to LA, and I already had a client lined up here and everything. I moved into the Legacy at Westwood, actually, which is where you met me. Yeah. Very good demographic, very high income location. Apartments, they're very expensive. They go up to $12,000 a month. If you're paying $12,000 a month for rent, you could afford a trainer. So then at that point, business started taking off, and now we're here. Fast forward to where we're at.
And where are you getting most of your clients today? Is it word of mouth? Is it your social media? Is it living in the right apartment complex?
Demographics is a huge part of it. Today, word of mouth. Word of mouth is, I would say, primarily the source of clientele. My clients are not on social media, right? Here probably could get. I mean, who are your listeners, right?
Right.
Maybe there someone says, "Wow, I'm gonna give this guy," like that's the word of mouth. If someone was like, "Hey man, you know a good trainer in Westwood, Beverly Hills, who do you recommend?" Word of mouth. And who are you recommending to me? You're not recommending to me, someone who doesn't probably have their life together. You're probably making a recommendation to someone who's either trying to get their life together or has their life together. So just better demographic, and then just being in the right area. I'm also easy on the eyes, right? I'm charismatic. I think and I have all these different techniques that I'm not gonna give away too much stuff, right? To constantly be able to get leads. One of my early rules was like always have more leads. Like be able to say no, not always have to say yes. So I pride myself on being able to turn down people, even though now it's different. That was back then. Like now I want to take on everybody. I'm trying to grow a company. So it's the opposite mindset. But back then it was like I wanted to say no to people. I wanted to have so many people wanting to train with me that I could say no, not saying yes to just anybody, because that's going to go ahead and elevate my value.
Yeah, it's empowering when you can tell a client that you don't need their business.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. I would never say it like that. Like
right.
I don't like because but I think it's when you know that you don't need their business and you just know it's not a good fit and you don't need to go through that turmoil of trying to make it work. I think Chris Voss talks about that when it comes to negotiations too, right? You don't, and I think his son is like you should always negotiate everything. He's mentioned that a few times, but I think he says like I'm okay with not. If the deal is not for me, the deal is not for me. Like I don't just because I can negotiate it doesn't mean I'm going to negotiate it.
Right. So what are you looking forward to? Let's try to close on a positive note. What are you looking forward to as we, go into 2021, the vaccines finally being rolled out? It feels like people are going to be a little bit more comfortable doing more stuff in person. Like what are you looking forward to in 2021?
Just, being able to run my business at 100%, function at 100%. So that's more excited to just be able to do that. And we just can't do that right now, right? So just being able to run the business at 100% instead of like being capped at a percentage because of restrictions or just like limiting beliefs or just like concerns, legitimate concerns because of COVID. I'm not undermining COVID by any means. There are legitimate concerns to it, but that is capping my business at not being able to run at 100%. Because if a person's like, man, I really want to work with Michael in person, I really want to make this happen, but I'm concerned about myself and my mom, that is capping my business, right? His concern is not, I don't know if Michael's going to be a good fit. His concern is there's something out of our control that I'm concerned about.
Of course.
It's not an excuse. It's a concern, and that's a legitimate concern.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to live events, man. I can't wait till there's a little 4-day retreat that I can come to and get some infrared and some
everything,
IV
bro.
treatment.
Everything, man. I'm just looking forward to also like all the I think people have become more verbal, right? So I'm looking forward to like I was like, man, I would love to be a part of a podcast, and I don't mean just like do a podcast. I would love to, and I don't want to create my own podcast. I have so many things going on, but I would love to be a part of a podcast. It means like a regular, right? Like I see.
Oh, you're like our go-to fitness guy. Every time something interesting happens in the world, we're gonna have you back on.
I'm here, coming every single time. I love it because that's for me. Just even finding other avenues of what makes me passionate. I make my decisions like on passion first, right? I like always make it on passion first. I truly believe that. I know this sounds cliche, but if you make a decision on passion first, you could eventually monetize it if you're strategic and you work hard enough.
That's the way to end the podcast, man.
Ooh, and I gotta pee really bad.
All right, perfect.
Love that.
Just don't take the Facebook Live with you.
No, I just gotta. Honestly, you gotta just let me know where the bathroom's at.
Yeah, it's ready.